Good morning from the Tideway, from the championship course where 344 crews are about to reach the crescendo of their winter season. Today we'll see rivalries reignite as crews from all over the United Kingdom and from all over Europe descend on this famous stretch of water for this year's Head of the River race. Last year we saw a Brookes dynasty broken as Leander claimed the headship for the first time since 2015. And of course, we'll see a new winner taking place in 2014 as well. Welcome to the 2025 Head of the River race, 99 years since the first race was run back in 1926. And we have got a thrilling morning of racing that is coming up here on, as I said, this famous stretch of water. I'm Fergus Mainland, and to my right, taking you through all of the action this morning, is two greats from the world of rowing. We've got two Olympic champions, Greg Searle and Rory Gibbs. And of course, Rory, a four-time winner of this event, and Greg, a previous winner of this event as well. So I can think of no one better to take our viewers through all of the racing this morning. Gents, great to have you on board for all of the action this morning. And Rory, let's come to you first of all. I mean, you've won this event 4 times before. You're sat here in London Rowing Club at the moment. What are some of the emotions that you're feeling looking out onto the river?
Yeah, well, look, firstly, I think I've won it 4 times. It's sort of 3 to 5 in that bracket. You know, I've been rowing for a number of years, but it's a great race. But yeah, it's cool to be on the other side doing a bit of commentating, and I'm excited for racing to get going. You know, 8 said it's a long race, sort of. It's going to take roughly sort of 15 to 20 odd minutes, I'd imagine. The conditions are looking really good, so I'm feeling for the guys out there. It's going to be a proper battle of grit and endurance. But yeah. And
Greg, as Rory said, and the conditions are looking good, and I think that's crucial for today. In years gone by, we've had rain, we've had wind, all sorts of things. But at the moment, it's about as good as it gets on the tideway, isn't it?
Yeah, you can see it looks really calm out there, and there was a real buzz walking into Putney this morning. As Rory says, I'm really excited to be sat here with you, Fergus, and taking people through the action, as we've got that 344 crews who've all come down here to Putney and getting ready and getting excited for it.
Absolutely. So we're about 7 or 8 minutes away from the first cruise, who will be heading underneath Chiswick Bridge. Our shots at the moment, just taking you through our crews who are warming up at the moment. Kingston Rowing Club on there, doing a last minute of preparation. But let's take you through the course, this famous championship course, 6.8 kilometres to get you to the finish line. And Greg, we're seeing some of the bridges pop up. Barnes Bridge, the first one into the race. Talk us through some of the key points in this course.
Yeah, well, I think you've really got to commit in that first section up to Barnes Bridge. Then you get through this quieter period. You go past that bandstand, and then we come down here. You get to Chiswick 8. It ends up being a long, straight section where, again, I think the Cox has to work really hard because you're only just at halfway here. Then you turn, you're quite near to St Paul's School, go under that Hammersmith Bridge, that second lamppost, and then again there's a bit of an empty spot before you get to that milepost, make that turning beside the Fulham football ground. And then for the Coxes, everything then kind of comes into view. There should be a lot of noise, a lot of excitement. Make sure you get close to that black buoy without hitting it. Then it's running along the boats, and then it's coming down here past our position at London Rowing Club and all the way down to University Stone, just beyond that Putney Pier. And that's the way it goes. And I wish it would happen as quickly as that.
Just as quickly as that, and that's the championship course. We're seeing other shots of Barnes Bridge. But Rory, from your experience when you're out there racing, we've seen some of the key landmarks, but when you were executing your race plan out in the water, where did you put your key pushes in, and where were the big moments for you in the race?
Yeah, I guess the excitement is there's a lot going on the tideway. So depending on the conditions, it can be choppy. You're really sort of relying on your technical side of things. You can overtake crews, but ultimately it's really important that as a crew you have a very clear race plan that you try and stick to and commit to, and don't get flustered by other crews. You can imagine when you're going off the choppers at the start, you know, the adrenaline's high, the energy's high, you're full of beans, and you just want to rip it. Sometimes if you're going off early, you've got a lot of people around you cheering you, and you can get a bit carried away. And also you can see the crews sort of in near shot that are coming off sort of 30 seconds behind you. So it's really important that you stay composed, you bind your race plan. Yes, you go up and on to pace, but then through the middle it's about really driving it hard and home. There typically isn't, from my experience, there's not necessarily many sort of pushes through the race, but rather we're trying to maintain speed.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, what we can see on screen at the moment is our wonderful sponsors at Rock the Boat, who have a wide range of merchandise available to buy for this year's event, including t-shirts, gilets, jumpers of which I should say that we are all modelling at the moment. So a massive thank you to the wonderful people at Rock the Boat for all of their continued sponsorship and work to help support the Head of the River race. We're very grateful for all you do throughout the race. And Greg, speaking of people that we're very grateful for all of the time that they put into the race, the umpires, we can see some of them on screen at the moment, and there will be dozens of them out on the course taking up various different roles. And you yourself are an umpire, so actually there's no better person to ask about some of the roles and responsibilities that they've got on race day.
Yeah, well, this is probably the most fun part, actually, as an umpire, that what you'll see now is the water's really calm and these umpires are marshalling the crews, getting them into position, because, as we know, there's nearly 350 crews out of the water, on the water. They need to get put into sections. We put them in blocks, get them in order. So, as I say, you'll see the umpires here trying to keep their wash down, because there's nothing like an annoying umpire who whizzes past in a tin fish, leaving a great big wash. But now you'll see everyone.
Would be you, would it?
That would never be me. That would never be me. But yeah, you can see the crews here. Lovely shots here. That they're pretty much in order. There's often a couple of strays that you're missing a number and you're thinking, where is that crew? And we try to knit them in. The truth is the crews are actually pretty good at getting themselves in position. Then once the gun goes, It's that thing that, again, I don't know about you, Rory, but I remember the first time I did this, I was starting somewhere down in the 300s. The cannon goes off, and we all strip down to our racing kits. And, you've actually got another hour before you start.
Yeah, well, look, I was quite lucky that I went to Brookes University, so
Yeah.
my first experience at Ace Head, I think I went off around 50-odd.
Okay, not too bad then.
Which still, it's still a bit of a weight at that point.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
definitely on the start line, you need to be really prepared. Have some sort of nutrition in the boat, make sure you have some fluids and enough kit.
Yeah, so as umpires, sometimes you have to manage the crews a bit when they get a bit excited. And you see that they're all having their first time, they all strip down. And today's a good day because actually it's quite nice and warm and good conditions, so you don't have to manage them too much. And then, and then they come up in blocks and turn, of course, through Chiswick Bridge and start just below Chiswick Bridge. And then as an umpire, then just looking out for the crews and making sure they're behaving as they should.
Absolutely. Well, we're just a couple of minutes to go until race time. So here is the draw we can see on screen, and immediately the eyes are drawn to our top two crews. Last year's winners and course record setters, Leander Club setting off first after claiming the headship, but Oxford Brookes will be chasing them down, looking to reclaim that title, one they've held for a number of years in recent times as well. Thames Rowing Club as well, with Olympic experience on board in the form of James Rudkin. They'll be looking to reclaim the Vernon Trophy. But obviously in those top 18 crews that we can see on screen, University of London, Newcastle, Edinburgh University, all vying for that university pennant as well. And we've got the first of our overseas crews as well, this from Ireland, Commercial Rowing Club. They're starting in the top 15. We look down the rest of the draw, 33, we see the first of our junior programmes coming in. That's Westminster School, sandwiched in between London Rowing Club D and 1877, the Durham alumni. And Greg, what's so wonderful is we've mentioned commercial, but over the course of this event, there are many, many overseas crews who are coming, particularly from Germany, from Switzerland, and it's wonderful to welcome them to the head of the river.
Well, it's a real challenge for overseas crews to take on, to race the 4.25 miles down through here. And it's an iconic race. It's an iconic course to race on, so they'll see it as, I'm sure, being on their bucket list to do as an event, as well as potentially going out to win that international pennant, as you say.
Absolutely. Well, one thing that we are delighted we're able to do at this year's event is we will be taking you inside the boats. We have a number of cox cams that we have stationed to a number of our coxes up and down the draw. And this is Hatfield College. This is their crew, coxed by Henry Hayes. They're starting bow number 129. This is their A boat in the event. And we can now switch over to Butler College as well. We join Sophie Pleason. She's coxing their crew, bow number 173. And as these crews come down the course, we'll be dropping into them, seeing how they're getting on. And Rory, we can see there's a few bits of advice which is taped to some of these riggers of the athletes, and this one in particular, we've got long written in. Did you have any bits of advice on your riggers in front of you?
I didn't actually, but we did see a shot earlier of something that said long on the sort of the front of their rigger, and as simple as that. When you're in a heat of battle, things do switch off. So simple reminders can be very helpful. Cox radar is going to remind you of exactly what you need to be doing, and effectively row long, pull hard, buy into the race plan. It's a fairly straightforward sport in that regard, but it's been interesting seeing a number of crews have some technical pointers on their riggers.
Yeah, I like that idea, Rory, that you're saying of having some clear key point words. So the cox might be making that call like long. You imagine the crews will go off the start there at Chiswick Bridge, and then the cox might make a call, let's get up to length, make sure they're rowing long. They might have some other keywords, connect, and they might shout connect. They might shout hold blades in, something for the finish. It's something I noticed in Paris, actually, having been able to listen into Harry Brightmore's coxing, how he had some keywords he really used with you in that Olympic 8.
So have you watched the race with the audio dubbed
yes.
over the top? Yeah, exactly. So the race plan is something that's been structured in, nailed in for years pretty much, and you find some of the language wasn't planned, but I think actually
I thought it was quite controlled, to be fair.
And you know what? Because the race goes by so fast, and when I watched it back, I didn't recall how much foul language was in it. But you kind of need that when you get into the thick of battle, when sort of energy is dropping.
So we can see on screen at the moment, it is our top two crews. It is Leander Club and Oxford Brookes University. Both of these crews will be competing for the Fairbairn Trophy, named after the race founder Steve Fairbairn. And the Fairbairn Trophy is awarded to the crew finishing head and individual, and they'll get the head overall headship and individual members for members of the crew as well. So, of course, Leander Club setting the course record last year at 16 minutes 26.7 seconds. if my memory serves me
They
correct.
snatched it off me from the year before.
They did. Well, I mean, obviously, we know that there's off-the-water issues going on at Oxford Brookes at the moment. But in terms of coming back into race day, what are you expecting to see from Brookes? Are you expecting them to hopefully reclaim the headship, and talk a bit about their depth as well?
So I think there's a few guys that are in the national team that have come back into the boat, which is great. But ultimately, all they can do is get out there, race as hard as they can, see how that winter training's gone, and then focus back in for the remainder of the season. So I hope they can put down a really strong marker. They're going to be up against a strong field with Leander, but let's see.
Yeah. And Greg, we can see on screen we've got crew 50. Their cocks Martin Haycock and one James Cracknell sitting in their stroke seat. Talk to me a little bit about this this fun crew that's been brought together.
Yeah, well, this is an all-star crew we're going to be looking at. You see James Cracknell sat there. Drew Ginn, the Australian, has sat behind him. And yeah, this boat, actually, remarkably, it's got 13 Olympic medals in it, 7 of which are gold. But Martin Haycock has taken that camera on for us, so we'll get to watch the action as they come down the course. And they're nicely positioned, starting number 50. So yeah, we'll watch the lead crews going, and then we'll pick up this crew. And I can say I think they look pretty tidy now, but I think there's a little bit of fitness might be a challenge as they get further along the course.
We'll see how James Cracknell develops and unfolds as the race gets on. That'll be a nice visual from start to finish to compare and contrast there.
You know what, though? I actually got to row with Cracknell and Partridge not too long ago, and they're in pretty good shape. So, so we'll see. They might hang tight through the middle.
To be fair, I spoke to them about rowing with you, and it was Morgan Boulding as well, wasn't it?
Yes, exactly.
And they said they've never rowed with two people who pulled so hard.
Yeah.
So they certainly really enjoyed rowing with you.
Well, here we are. We're just a few moments away now from the start of the 2025 Head of the River race. And there we go, bow number 1. It is Leander Club, last year's record-breaking crew. They're setting off. They're looking to reclaim the headship again. And it's a phenomenal crew. Rory's already touched on it, packed full of Great Britain experience on board. A lot of them with ambitions for LE 2028 and getting into the National Training Centre at Caversham. And Rory, this is a phenomenal crew that's heading off. But here we see that Oxford Brookes crew setting off by number 2. A sizable gap though between those two crews as they head off. Why do you think that is?
It's to try and take a little bit of, or try and limit the insights that crews can get from that, and I guess get their own water as well. So that could be a typical tactic that you see in those sort of first couple of crews. But yeah, they'll be going off really hard. Now they'll be pushing on their pace there.
It's one of those things that actually really annoys the marshals and the umpires, but it's actually quite a good idea really. If you're crew number 2, you want to leave the gap as long as you possibly can, so crew number 1 has to row in a vacuum. I thought actually Oxford Brookes are reasonably close up behind there on Leander, but Leander, as you say, will get a gauge there. They'll know whether they can move away. I think their eyes will be good enough looking back on that number 2 Brookes crew, as we're picking up Thames now, starting off in number 4.
Yeah, this is Thames Rowing Club, as we said themselves. They've also got Olympic experience on board. They've got James Rudkin sat there in the 5 seat. Gold medalist with you, Rory Gibbs, last year in Paris. Great to see him back in a boat and racing for Thames.
Yeah, good for him. He loves it. So yeah, he's been I think competing abroad as well in Holland recently. But yeah, he's having a lot of fun. So it'd be interesting to see how they get on today. But he's a great guy to have on the boat. He's got a lot to add technically and verbally as well. So a real big asset to them. And we'll see how they get on.
Absolutely. There's a lot of similarity in some of the names we're reading out in these first few crews. We've just had Leander's B crew heading off in bow number 5 ahead of Brookes' C crew in the 6th place position, and they'll be leading out ahead of London Rowing Club. London Rowing Club, who of course had a phenomenal season last year and a wicked ding-dong with Thames Rowing Club all the way through the season, right up to Henley Royal Regatta, and those two clubs will be looking to do exactly the same thing again this year. But right behind Greg, Leander Club, this is Leander's C crew. I think just setting off right behind who themselves, probably wanting to try and get an overtake early on, won't they?
Yeah, the Leander young crew here that we're seeing, I think lots of them gap year students, spending some time at Leander, probably looking to race in the Thames Cup at Henley later in the year. But for now, they're looking to push their A and their B crew, and as you say, seeing if they can close that gap, get up in amongst this London crew. As you say, London really looking to push on, and they'd be so delighted if they can get past Thames. Those two, as you said, raced in the Thames Cup at Henley in that epic semi-final. Thames came through on top on that day, but these two have already raced in a match race, London against Thames on the Tideway. Thames just held on by a few feet over London on that day, Big question about whether this could be the day for London to finally really get in front and rule this little bit of Putney.
Absolutely. So you can see there, bow number 12, well, if they're wanting to rule Putney, they're going to have to get past several of the Thames Rowing Club's crews. Thames Rowing Club have got so many crews racing, say, A, B, C, D, E, F, up to G and H as well. And just behind Thames, it is the first of our crews from Edinburgh University, ahead of the first of our overseas crews. That is Commercial Rowing Club from Ireland. And now, Greg, a club you'll be very familiar with. This is the black and white of Molesey Boat Club. Slipped down the rankings ever so slightly last year, but they're back. They've got a good crew looking to move back up the rankings again this year, won't they?
Yeah, well, Ben Lewis is coaching them now, and as he said, 16th, I think, is about the lowest he's coached a crew to in the past. They're racing 15 today, hoping to really make an improvement on that. And I guess for them, yeah, it's going to be a bit of a battle with Marlow in terms of that Page Trophy, which is for crews that don't race on the Tideway. But yeah, as you say, it's a little bit of a change from Molesey, who we back in the day would have wanted to be racing towards the top, looking to win it. But here they are looking to try and take out that Page Trophy, or retain the Page Trophy.
Well, there's that crew they're going to have to go up against if they're going to win that Page Trophy. It is bow number 17, and that is Marlow Rowing Club. We saw just how wonderful their Coxless 4 was last year, winning the Y4 Challenge Cup at Henley Royal Regatta. So they're back in the 8th, they've got themselves all together. What a wonderful crew this is.
Yeah, that Marlow crew is fantastic. It's an amazing stat, actually. It was the first win at Henley in an open weight category for a not composite since 1883 at Henley Royal Regatta. There's only one of those survivors actually in this Marlow 8, but I was talking to the coach and he was saying there's a real positivity in the club now, real motivation and enthusiasm to look to build on that one Henley win and not make it 100 years before they have to get the next one.
Fingers crossed. Well, here we've got another one of the Brookes crews, and of course, Rory, you'll know from experience, it's an open club, there's students in there as well, and when you're coming to the head of the river with that mix of students and open athletes, how do you prioritise which of the trophies to go for and where to put your athletes at this point?
Ultimately, that comes down to the coach and how they're going to split that one up. And as an athlete, you've just got to put yourself in the best position, get yourself as fit as you can, and whichever boat you're put into, you just got to put as hard as you can and get the best result you can achieve. So, yeah, it comes down to the coach's decision. Typically, they'll try and prioritise the open event because they've got a lot of depth with their students. Then they might pull back a couple of guys that could theoretically feature in that open boat to compete in the student dependent and try and take the win there. So yeah, there is a little bit of strategy going on, pulling people up and down, but generally as an athlete you just got to put your best foot forward and do as told, really.
So this is bow number 23, this is Cambridge University Boat Club, and this is the provisional Goldie lineup. Sadly, we're not quite getting to see their blue boat racing down the championship course, but we're less than a month to go until the boat race, and this is the provisional, obviously until crew announcements and everything starts to come out, that will be racing against ISIS in less than 1 month's time. Just ahead of Cambridge University Boat Club, though, it was Royal Chester, and we're starting to talk about some of the trophies. Royal Chester, of course, last year's winner of the Jackson Trophy, to the fastest British or Scottish rowing club crew, not normally rowing or the Thames or its tributaries. So for the Jackson, we'll be keeping our eyes on Royal Chester, we'll be keeping our eyes on Agecroft, Tyne Amateur Rowing Club as well, some of the contenders from outside of this region that we'll be watching.
Yeah, Royal Chester, as you say, they're racing for that Jackson Trophy. They had a good performance at the Nottingham head of the river on the Trent, where Leander actually came up as well on a bit of a road trip that they've been doing around the country. But apparently they were well received up there racing in Nottingham, and that Royal Chester crew got pretty close to them, so they'll be hoping that's a good step in the right direction and see where they finish up today.
Well, Rory, here we've got Vesta Rowing Club on screen. They're starting bow number 27, and a nice bit of symmetry there, you know. We've got James Cratnell there, who's recently taken over as head coach of the men's squad at Vesta Rowing Club, and here he is rowing in a boat. I mean, Vesta will be hoping that someone with his sort of experience can really start to see them rise back up to the very top of Tideway rowing and start to challenge London and Thames again.
Absolutely. So this kind of race is such a long race. Race plan does really matter, and having someone who's got that experience to sort of bestow on some of the other athletes, I feel like there's a lot of credibility in that boat nonetheless, but experience does count for a lot. So whilst they might not have that youth and sort of energy that we can see in some of these other crews, they will have that experience of the Tideway, how to pace it, how to race it, and that definitely will be a really big asset and strength.
Yeah, Vesta, as you say, coached by James Cracknell. Apparently he's got pulled into this 8 by Alex Partridge. They said whatever happened, they needed to warm up close to the Vesta first 8. So if the Vesta first 8 did need anything, their coach was actually even closer than any other, because they could have a quick chat with them before they went. But their Vesta crew are now out on their own, and I'm sure they'll be doing a good job on this bit of water they know so well. Because I think we're having a look here at Westminster, aren't we?
Yes, Westminster, bow number 33. They're the first of our junior crews. Now, of course, it was St Paul's School who won the junior pennant last year. And by all accounts, St Paul's are building just a wonderful programme that is going incredibly quickly at the moment. But we're not able to see them at the head of the river this year. They're choosing to prioritise the school's head, which is taking place next week. But Westminster racing on home water, just looking to get their final bit of race prep in ahead of next year's racing.
Yeah, I saw CD Riches this morning just outside Westminster Boat Club, and he was saying, yeah, why wouldn't we race the head of the river? Of course we're racing the head of the river for them. They're perfectly happy to be out getting on the water today and then racing again on Tuesday.
I was going to say, I feel like they're going off quite early in the race there. Is there, the first sort of school's boy 8? How early on have we seen in the past? Do we know?
Well, we know obviously St Paul's finished, it was 11th overall last year, knocking off Edinburgh University, University of London in the process. It's a phenomenal crew that they're building. So we'll see what Westminster can do, and I imagine, Rory, that St Paul's boys will be watching on, probably from their own boathouse, just to see how Westminster are doing just ahead of next week. But here we've got now, it is our top 2 crews coming into the stretch just leading to Hammersmith Bridge. Our camera position is at Oriel Kensington, so just a few doors along from Hammersmith Bridge. Our first 4 crews. That's a wonderful shot, isn't it, Greg? Coming into shot. Leander Club still leading, still a sizable gap, but we know it is going to be sizable because Oxford Brookes left quite a big gap between those 2 crews to set off.
Yeah, they did. So it's very hard to see with the naked eye, isn't it, what the gap is there. Just having a look at that Leander crew, I've taken them at about 34.5 strokes a minute. So they're settled into their really solid-looking pace. Rory, what can you see going on there?
I was going to say that rating is definitely a bit at me. I like it to be a little bit lower compared to what you do over a 2K. So I like the rhythm there. It's looking long and strong. They just look comfortable to me. I know it's very early on in the race, but they're looking strong. They're looking comfortable. Just
got to hope it's not too comfortable.
Yeah,
settling down there.
Yeah, exactly. We'll get eyes on Oxford Brookes in a minute, but coming through this marker here, they're looking pretty strong.
So we're back up at the start. This is another one of our junior crews. This is Abingdon School Boat Club. They're starting off 42nd. Abingdon School looking to get themselves back up to the top of the junior rankings. But there we see, Rory, your old club, your alumni, Oxford Brookes University. You saw Leander. How are Brookes shaping up?
Yeah, it's similar sort of rating there. Again, Brookes tends to focus a bit more on the front end, so you can kind of see with the Blazers sort of entering there, they're really picking it up early, so it's a slightly different dynamic through the water. But again, they're looking strong. It's looking a little bit more energetic in that sense, but we might see how that sort of transcends or plays out later on in the race. Yeah,
Brookes there were at 35 strokes a minute as well, so pretty similar as they came under Hammersmith Bridge.
Now, we're in the unique position in the commentary box at London Rowing Club that we can start to see some of the provisional, and I stress provisional results. We've got some of the intermediate times, and again, provisionally, that we had at Barnes Bridge. It was Leander Club heading through Barnes Bridge first. 2 seconds up on London Rowing Club through Barnes Bridge, with Thames Rowing Club through in third, with Oxford Brookes just about 0.8 of a second or so back on that Thames Rowing Club crew in 5th place position, with Leander Club B ahead of Brookes B. So that's how it's starting to unfold, starting to shape up, and we'll get a few more of those times as Hammersmith Bridge. But Greg, there we see James Cracknell. We've seen his crew, the Vesta boys, off. He'll be hoping and praying that they're off to a cracking start to his race. But let's see what Upper Thames A have got in store.
Yeah, well, let's see. We've got Martin Haycock. We'll be able to hear him coxing a little bit in the background as well as they come through, saying, "Take it from me." There's the timing boat on the side there, the right of our picture on their bow side.
Got some nice sort of facial expressions coming through there as well. You can see that James is definitely laying it down.
Confidence.
Well, let's just take a second now and listen in with
the start line.
Martin Haycock to his Upper Thames crew.
34. Rhythm. Stand. Stand.
I love the
Stand. Length. Ready now.
So just looking at the, you've got Drew Ginn in the 7th seat, Duncan Free behind him, Richard Schmidt in the 5th seat,
you know, if you're building your all-time crew over the years, it's not a bad combination.
It's not bad, is it?
It's not bad.
33.
Richard Schmidt, winner of the Thomas Keller medal.
Let's lean into our race rhythm. These 5 on top.
There's not many Germans who are more medals than him. Racing against us in the 8 quite a lot, Rory. You and me, I think he will have raced.
Yeah.
3, 4, 5.
So riding with that Upper Thames crew. The rest of our crews, of course, we've got 344 of them racing this morning, the next of which is through the start line.
It's quite high energy, this competition, which will benefit a lot of athletes. Possibly, I mean, you know, the competition's got to really sort of tie into how the athletes respond. For me, maybe, I don't know, it'd be different when you're in the boat and you're sort of getting tired, you need that energy. It does feel quite aggressive, which has its benefits for sure, but possibly some drawbacks if it's taking too much out of an athlete too early on.
I think it's really interesting hearing you saying that, Rory, particularly having, as I said, listened to the commentary of your Paris race and how calm Harry Brightmore was in the first 1,000, and then you could almost feel it building like a crescendo. And we're hearing Martin Haycock in our ears now, how he's keeping it reasonably calm with that crew. They'll be coming up towards Barnes Bridge now.
Exactly, the language might start to change.
Yes,
as we get to the latter stages.
Depending on what state they're cruising, yes. Well, here we go on screen at the moment. This is approaching our Hammersmith Bridge position. This is crew 15, which is Molesey Boat Club. This is Molesey's top crew, overtaking crew number
16. It is from Thames. So this will be
it's the other way around. It's Thames overtaking Molesey in that case.
Yes, of course it is, isn't it? So this won't be pleasing Ben Lewis.
No, it certainly won't, but it will be pleasing Sanders Smulders and the rest of the Thames Rowing Club coaching staff, particularly having that inside line as we come round Hammersmith Bridge, that all-important second lamppost, I think, as every coach tells their athletes.
It's quite an interesting dynamic, this, when you are overtaking a crew for sort of that psychological factor. So for the crew that was taken over there, they're like, here we go, we're moving well. The crew that is being overtaken, it's really important that they stay mentally strong. Of course, they're trying to row as fast as they can, don't want to be overtaken. But you don't know how fast that other crew might be moving. It might be that they're currently ranking sort of top 5. And so in which case, actually, the crew that is being overtaken is still in good condition, if that makes sense. So you need to really sort of stay in your boat, stay in your rhythm, make sure you're doing what you can going into your race, and you're not getting flustered with the overtake.
And we're probably going to see more of it as the race goes on, because at the top of the field we saw Leander went off here with a lot of clear water all around them. As the crews go on, we're going to see probably more overtaking and, like you say, more staying in the boats, and the coxes needing to keep their crews out of trouble.
Well, here we go then into the closing stages for bow number 1. It's Leander Club absolutely motoring home. They're coming past the famous Black Boy. That's Oxford Brookes. That's crew number 2 just sitting in their wash at the moment. And it's from our perspective on the cameras, but it does look like that that margin has just grown ever so slightly between those two crews, between Leander Club and between Oxford Brookes. We're into the closing stages, and we'll get a bit of a view as they come past. The windows of London Rowing Club are open for us to view.
I'd say, you know, looking at this water, look how sort of flat and still it is, which is lovely. And what that does mean is it's going to be a very physical race out there. You can't rely on the tailwind and the chops and that technique, so they're going to be really laying it down as hard as they can here. So this would have been a proper physical race. We can see they're coming through now. So yeah, a proper test of grit, attrition, and how much can you get out of there, how many watts can you lay down in the rhythm with your crewmates.
Well, we've just seen Leander go right past our window. They're still down at about 35, 36 strokes a minute. We saw Brookes there. They're coming to our window now. It does look to our eye like that gap might have got bigger. We'll have to wait and see. And they're coming down. We will have these crews actually passing the finish line any moment now and winding down. And we'll, of course, bring you the results provisionally as soon as we can.
So they'll be going through the tiers now. So they'll be bringing up the rates, bringing up that intensity. They will be really struggling. You might be able to see heads starting to roll there. There'll be some dribble on the chin for sure. There'll be some regrets in their minds. But they're really just buying into the Coxswain and just give every last ounce of effort they can now coming into that finish line.
Absolutely. So we're keeping our eyes on that gap between Leander Club bow number 1, Oxford Brookes number 2. We think it's grown, but we'll get the official results coming through. But we're also keeping our eyes out to see how Thames Rowing Club do as well. We've seen the provisional times from early on. It shows that London Rowing Club is provisionally quicker to Barnes Bridge, and that's only about 1,500–1,600 metres into the race. As
we can't let ourselves get carried away, can we, with what happened at Barnes Bridge, because it's only 2:45 out of a race that's going to be 16 plus minutes. But it's an indicator. You don't want to blow up here. It's a long way to go. Looking here at Imperial College.
Done it.
Yeah.
It's not much fun.
So yeah, Imperial College racing on home water. Of course, one of the boat houses here at Putney Embankment. We're back. We're riding with Leander Club. There's some pained expressions on that.
That's the second 8 there. Miles Devereaux in the stroke seats, setting a good rhythm as they're building up towards the finish line there, passing opposition. London Rowing Club getting a cheer, I think, outside of our window. It's a different crew than the one that you're going to be looking at on screen. That's crew 31. You can hear the noise behind us. Look at this. This London Club have caught up with Brookes in front of them.
This is a phenomenal piece of rowing from London Rowing Club. We've seen all season long they're building. They were building last season. Great performances at Henley Royal Regatta. They picked up right where they left off last season under the leadership of Stu Heap. And here they are closing down, nearly caught up with that Oxford Brookes University crew there. Massive roars. Not sure if you could hear them on commentary, but big roars from the London Rowing Club balcony.
Yeah, and London have wound it up there, 38 strokes a minute I had them at. Brookes was still down to about 35.5. No surprise really, all that motivation coming past their club, coming along Putney Embankment and coming down to that line.
Well, speaking of London Rowing Club, their crew bow number 32 is neck and neck with bow 33. That is Westminster School. London Rowing Club's D crew, their 4th 8. But those schoolboys from Westminster, they'll know them all so well from having their boat houses just a few doors down from each other. But Westminster School setting themselves up very well for the school's head of the river, as we are back riding with Upper Thames Rowing Club. We're back riding with their cocks, Martin Haycock and their stroke, James Cracknell.
Are they coming for an overtake here, or is it
I'm trying to have a look at who that is.
33 chains.
Crew, it's a crew that's dropped a fair bit, I think. That looks like a Brookes crew, doesn't it?
5 on the hips. Ready, go. What?
But there's not a Brookes crew for quite a long way before
3 hips, fellas.
that Upper Thames crew. So we'll have to try and figure this one out for you.
Down the
Nonetheless,
island.
this could be nice, quite a nice situation for Grafton in this crew.
Here we go.
Because they can use the Brookes crew to sort of leverage themselves through, which is a nice way to get a bit of an adrenaline rush and really stick into
Good, staying in
sort of the
contact
pulse
with
of the race.
That's helpful.
Meanwhile, though, back with bow number 39. This is Marlow Rowing Club, their B crew. We've talked about how good their A crew is. Their A crew, of course, going for the Page Trophy. But their B crew will look to try and ruffle a few feathers in that category as well. You can see there in the bottom right-hand side of your screen. That camera will stay there the whole time as our crews continue to launch themselves through Chiswick Bridge for the start of their race.
Yeah, that Marlow crew also had one of the winners from the the Y-Folds last year, but he's not doing so much training, so has dropped into the second 8. Let's have a look at that Molesey 8, which we think has been overtaken there by Thames.
Well, what's fascinating here, Rory, is of course when we saw them being overtaken at Hammersmith Bridge, the margin was very similar.
Yeah.
So they've hung on, and it's just been neck and neck, just battling each other all the way down from Hammersmith course. So I imagine Thames will be frustrated that they've not quite been able to break clear.
They'll be frustrated, but exactly, you sort of stay in your rhythm.
Okay, here we go.
That 5-man is giving some beads because his head was in his foot well. So for him, it's really important that he is just staying in there, trying to stay on that red line, and finding that energy to keep moving. But then it could be a bit of a sort of a motivation for the other crew.
It's important we have you here, Rory, who's closer to having raced it, because you forget how much it hurts when you see it. When we sit here and watch these pictures, you see it being done well. A crew going off the start here, looking kind of fresh and dynamic, but just how tough this race will be.
There's so many thoughts that can run through your mind if you get that pacing wrong. You can get to halfway and be like, oh my god, I just need to just get me to that finish line. I don't care where I finish up, but obviously that does matter. So pacing is really, really important in these head races. Pitch in at the right level. And then ideally, as you bring up the rates through those tiers towards the end, you're effectively holding on to the power output that you were giving at the start. You want a level playing field, or you want a level release of power throughout the whole race, whilst at the start you're high on energy, and in the latter stages you're using that sort of grit and team sort of atmosphere, if you like.
Absolutely. Well, we saw Bow 88, Nottingham University B going off, then we're just riding with City of Bristol as they were approaching Hammersmith Bridge. We're looking out from our position. We can see another one of the Cambridge crews, just very close. One of the Thames crews very close behind them is the Goldie crew from Cambridge University. So just to remind you of that, that was bow number 23 with Thames Rowing Club. They had an E crew in at 28 and they had a D crew in at 21. So either Cambridge have either just caught up with or being caught up by Thames. The results will show that. James Cracknell and Upper Thames heading towards Hammersmith Bridge through halfway in the 2025 Head of the River race.
Yeah, it was a great little picture there, wasn't it? We got the Cox's view as they come around past St Paul's School and then turn and line up Hammersmith Bridge here. Martin Haycock will be looking to line up that second lamppost, which is generally seen as the fastest line. James Cracknell in front of him, keeping that crew going about 33 strokes a minute. Drew Ginn sat in behind him. Drew Ginn's over here. He's going to do some finishing coaching with Oxford, apparently. The Olympic champion 3 times over, Drew Ginn.
Here we go, through the bridge.
Yeah. Handy pair of hands to bring over.
New rhythm.
Alex Partridge in the 3 seat. He said just how much he appreciates the work that's done by British Rowing now that he's had to organise a crew and try to get 8 different people plus a Cox all in the same place at the same time with a boat. But he was the energy behind this, together with Cracknell and Steve Kelso and John O'Donoghue, who brought this crew together from Upper Thames and brought in the 2 Germans to row with them, Tobias Kerner and Richard Schmidt, together with Drew Ginn and Duncan Free there.
Well, there we see it is bow 27. It is Vesta Rowing Club. We've gone from their head coach back into the boat. They'll be looking to challenge for some of those Vernon positions. They'll look to challenge London Rowing Club, challenge Thames Rowing Club as well. Vesta, a trumpeter as well. Yeah,
so actually when I came along Putney Hart, the trumpeter was trumpeting the crews out onto the water with a bit of rocky music as each of the Vesta crews came down to the water.
Well, I think Vesta Rowing Club have got a trumpet, London have got a drum, so I think we need to go and ask Thames what musical instrument they can provide to this Putney Embankment band. But here's one. It is bow 55. This is Tideway Scullers School, another one of our home clubs. This is their A boat that is racing at the moment, and I think what is fascinating about Tideway Scullers, actually one of the most, if not the most successful club at the Head of the River race, having won it 9 times in a row between 1964 and 1972. And Greg, I believe it was Tideway Scullers who would quite often play host to some of these Great 8 crews that we would have racing at the Head, packed full of international Olympians and world champions over the years. Yeah,
that's right. Such a popular club on the Thamesway, the Tideway Scullers. As you say, when I started off rowing, late 80s into the 90s, very dominant. And they did exactly what they said. You know, they sculled well. Wade Hall Craggs, for me, was one of the real stalwarts of that club, who sculled and then coached there. And yeah, you expected them to scull well. As we're having a look now at Westminster, you can see it's hurting them coming down here. But I think that's the drum beating for them as they're coming past Putney Hard and their club.
Yeah, it's interesting to see that a lot of them have got sort of full skins on, full sort of top half leggings and leggings on the legs.
Yeah.
Obviously, that's a good way to sort of keep yourself sort of...
Oh, he's hurting. Look at the stroke, man.
He's been working hard all this race. He's got a few hundred metres left to go.
Oh, dear.
Okay, yeah, the stroke man is struggling to lay it there. And that just goes to show the importance of pacing the race. But it'll be a really good learning experience for him.
Yeah.
And I'm sure he'll come back stronger in the future.
Well, the future for them will be Tuesday, so he's got 2 days to figure out how to pace it. Yeah.
Great club.
Fortunately, School's Head is a couple of hundred metres short.
Yeah, it'll be fine then.
Well, yeah, but at what point, did we go over the edge there?
Yeah.
But, we actually saw that in the boat race last year as well, didn't we, with the stroke man?
Yeah. We got the crew from Cork here, Cork Boat Club from Ireland. They're number 36. They're in that blue and white hooped. And it looked like they were making good progress catching up on an Imperial College B crew.
Yeah, now back with 63. This is Tyne Amateur Rowing Club. This is their B crew as well. This is bow number 63. And of course, we mentioned the Jackson Trophy for crews who aren't based on the Thames, and Tyne Amateur Rowing Club, certainly their A-boat, will be looking to push the likes of Royal Chester, who won that pennant last year. Agecroft, who's mentioned in the mix, City of Bristol, certainly ones to keep your eyes on as well. But our crews are still powering out of the start line as well. We've still got the spectators looking down on it. And of course, one of the other features that we've got is this wonderful drone footage. And at the moment, we're heading towards Hammersmith Bridge, the long sweeping sort of middle bend of this race. And at this point, we've got the crew from Kew House School, that is Bow 87. And it looks to be, at the moment, next to them.
I think that might be City of Bristol Rowing Club, is it? Crew 86.
Yeah, that's really impressive to see from Kew House School. I actually spoke at their school a year or two ago, and they've not been sort of a fully fledged rowing school for too long. Only a few sort of several years or few
yeah, they feel like a new force.
Yeah, it's a new force
in the school rowing.
Interesting to see how they sort of grow on that. I think it was set up by Patrick Graham, teacher, used to row at Brookes. He's now actually over in Australia. But it's really cool to see them out on the water and to see their blade work from this shot here, looking really strong and impressive. So it'll be interesting to see how they.
Well, he likes moving the riggers around, doesn't he? He's got two tandems there sat on that 8, which is kind of quite an interesting way to set it up, particularly the junior 8.
Yeah.
So now we've got eyes
I think we're in Durham, aren't we?
This looks to be their B crew as well. This is bow number 45, yeah, Durham University B. And we've talked a little bit about some of our other university crews: Durham University, Edinburgh University, Newcastle University, and of course Oxford Brookes, who will all be racing for the Bernard Churcher Trophy, to the fastest crew from any university or college club, including those from overseas as well. And of course, Oxford Brookes, the holders of that pennant. University of London so strong in recent years, and Durham and Newcastle will be going head to head, just as they have done at Rutherford Head already this season, at Bucks Head, which was of course up on the Tyne. And at that most recent of events, it was Durham getting the better of Newcastle up there. So they'll be looking, Newcastle certainly be looking to right those wrongs back down here on neutral water on the tideway.
Yeah, real battle on the Tyne, isn't there? Those crews coming down here, exciting to see. They're used to rowing on tidal water. Let's see how they can handle the conditions. They'll probably be a bit disappointed it's so calm and flat, as we're seeing here.
500.
No, nice moment to get inside this 8. Rory, what's happening here in this as they're coming past the black buoy, Putney hard, probably about 500 metres to the finish line.
Legs.
Yeah, so what's happening here is a lot of foul language going on in their heads.
Yeah.
Hold on.
And a lot of swaying, but ultimately, you know, they can see the finish line, they can sense it, they can hear their coxswain's voice, and it's now about absolutely emptying the tank, getting everything out there on the water, driving the legs, but it's really important that they stay in time. Like I said, the launch has been really flat here, so it has been a very physical race, and so this will be stinging hard for everyone involved.
Well, they're at 34 strokes a minute. See the bow pair there, the stalwarts of Upper Thames Rowing Club, Steve Kelso and John O'Donoghue, Alex Partridge there. Then that's Richard Schmidt coming through. The big man there's Duncan Free. And then James Cracknell going through, Martin Haycock. We had Drew Ginn as well. James told me these guys had, on average, lost about 10 kilos each in order to come here and do this. They're really focused in on it.
Well, I'm trying to think, the last time James probably did the entire course would have been the boat race a few years back.
That's probably right, yeah.
Little sections of it with Vesta. But yeah, a big cheer for that crew from Upper Thames, and of course for Vesta Rowing Club as they pass their back for their head coach. A few hundred metres left for this Upper Thames crew.
And there will be no holding back. There's no shortage of motivation, there's no shortage of grit and determination from all of these men. It's Martin Haycock trying to get everything he can out of them all the way through till the line.
You can see on James's facial expressions, they've got the grimaces are slightly more exaggerated in the middle of the race, but actually not hugely. So it looks like he's actually managed to sort of pace himself quite well throughout the race there, working from start to finish.
Right, well, let's take a little breather because we've got some provisional results that have come in. We've got some provisional results that have come in, and I'll just refresh the page one more time to make sure. Leander Club, provisional winners of the Fairbairn Trophy, taking the headship for a second year in a row, this time 12 seconds ahead of Oxford Brookes University A. It is Brookes B provisionally in third place ahead of Thames Rowing Club.
Oh. No, we've got an out of order time, haven't we? So you're correct on those two as our provisional top 2, but then we've got a mover.
Then we've got Thames Rowing Club through provisionally in 3rd place. It's all very exciting as these results are coming in. We're just trying to process everything. But yes, your provisional winner is Leander Club. 2nd place is Oxford Brookes, with 3rd place from Thames Rowing Club.
That's right, and Thames have made a decent move on London Rowing Club to be about 13 seconds ahead of London, and we've probably got Leander Club 2 coming in our 4th position, but we need to just order these, and this is provisional.
Yes.
So is that James Rudkin coming in 3rd there?
James Rudkin in 3rd place with Thames Rowing Club.
Well, obviously it's a team effort there, so it's been all athletes involved. But I'm sure he'll be very pleased with that finish, that provisional result there.
Well, the action in front of us here is a great looking race. You can see this Molesey crew number 62. They have come up, and that's Molesey C, who are doing an overtake there on the crew from overseas, from Switzerland, who've made the trip here.
Yes, welcome to everyone who is tuning in from Switzerland. Wonderful to have you on board for this year's Head of the River. We hope you're enjoying our pictures and enjoying seeing your crew come down the course. And they'll, of course, be looking to topple Commercial, who won the overseas pennant last year. However, just as we continue to process these results, as I said, everything is still provisional. The times are a little bit out of order, but we can take you through some of the pennant winners. We've mentioned Thames Rowing Club, who have won the Vernon in 3rd place. We can now take you to the Thames Valley pennant, the Thames Valley Academic, for the fastest academic crew from the Thames Valley, and that is provisionally the University of London A. The next that we can take you to is the Scott Skirving Trophy, which is to the fastest academic crew outside of the Thames Valley, and that is Edinburgh University Club. And the overseas pennant will be heading back to Ireland for the 2nd year in a row, because Commercial Rowing Club are provisionally claimed that. However, Age Trophy is provisionally heading to Marlow Rowing Club. They're able to come out ahead of Molesey Rowing Club.
Well, that's a big statement, a big step from Marlow if they can hang on to that position, which by the look of it they are ahead of Molesey by about 6 seconds, looking at the provisional times we've got here. Of course we could have anyone later in the field who might come through, but we're only basing this on the crews who finished already.
Now, we've also mentioned a couple of the academic trophies based in the Thames Valley and outside of the Thames Valley. However, we can bring you the winner of the Bernard Churchill, which is the overall fastest crew from any university or college club, including those from overseas, and that is Cambridge University Bow 23. And what's interesting is that is, of course, their Goldie crew.
Goldie crew.
Not even their top crew, and this has them starting 23rd and provisionally finishing 7th overall. And Rory, I imagine if that's their B boat, I mean, goodness knows what Cambridge are managing to cook with their blue boat this year.
Yeah, obviously Cambridge has been very successful over the last 7 years. You know, being an Oxford boy, I'd like to see Oxford put up a good fight, and I hope it will be a good race. But yeah, you know, there's a number of guys in that Cambridge crew that have got a lot of experience from the national team, and I'd imagine training's going very well. And the boat race is obviously in the very near future is going to be a really good race, and it's going to be a tough one. Absolutely.
Yeah, that boat race on the 13th of April, so I'm guessing that's 3 weeks without actually getting a calendar out.
About 3 weeks, yeah.
From today.
Quick maths.
Yes, yeah.
Well, just before we bring you some other results, we're currently riding with bow number 146. That is one of our home clubs on the Tideway. That is Oriel Kensington, who, of course, one of our cameras is based on for today's action. Wonderful drone footage of them as they come down Chiswick heading towards the home club. And again, Greg, you'd imagine big support from Oriel Kensington, despite it being 5 minutes to 10 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah, I'm sure Oriel Kensington it's a lovely club there at Hammersmith, looking down onto Hammersmith Bridge. They will be looking forward to seeing their crews come through. And now this is quite fun that we have Hatfield Rowing Club with their camera on board, and they're going through Barnes Bridge. That's Henry Hayes is wearing the camera, looking at his stroke man. And you'll see it's pretty tight there coming through Barnes Bridge, not your favourite position for overtaking. And they're coming out now. It opens out a little bit more. Those blades are pretty close. The crew's trying to stay focused pretty much in their own boats. I'm trying to work out who's overtaking who. Well, Hatfield moving forward through the lee. No, it's the lee who are coming forward. So the lee, probably unsurprisingly, have taken that slightly more inside line. Been quite bullish, really, forcing the bow through at Barnes Bridge. pushing Hatfield College wide here. So that's the Lee, who we expect to see continue to make progress and move away now from our crew where we have the camera on board. The Lee will not be happy with our Cox Henry if he manages to cause a little clash there between the 7-man and the 2-man.
If clashing does happen, it's really important that you're effectively holding onto the egg as hard as you can with that clash. Of course, we don't want the clash, but it can be an opportunity for you to kind of almost springboard off another crew.
And it's the difference between a match race or a head race like this. In a match race, clashing might even, be a deliberate act.
In a match race, but in the head race, you want to try and avoid contact. It's not going to benefit anyone involved. But if you do find yourself in contact, hold on to that handle as hard as you can. And don't let go.
You sound like you're speaking from experience.
Yes. We've had to use one or two opportunities to stay again.
A couple of interesting things about this Hatfield crew. They were the fastest Durham College at Tyne Head. What I understand, all of the colleges from Durham will head north, race on the Tyne, and big bragging rights there. But also interesting is that the executive committee's final handover occurs when the first eight goes underneath the Hammersmith Bridge at head of the river. So that means that in the second half of the race, they have a new men's captain at bow. And it's sort of a big official handover process going underneath Hammersmith Bridge. Now, that could be one of those bits of information that is just fed to me that is absolutely nonsense that I've just read out to the world. But if it is true, that's quite a nice little bit.
It's too specific to be true, I think.
And it's the sort of thing you'd expect to come out of the
I was going to say,
College.
that does sound like some sort of rowing tradition there. So that's pretty cool.
So at least someone's going to be a winner on the day, whatever happens. The new captain sitting in the bow seat.
Well, just as we see the next of our crews coming underneath Hammersmith Bridge, we've got some more provisional, again stressing provisional results that we can bring you. And that is that Agecroft Rowing Club have taken the Jackson Trophy from Royal Chester. Royal Chester threw in 1821.9. However, Agecroft Rowing Club threw in 1817. So a phenomenal result from Agecroft to take the Jackson.
And you can now see we've got a graphic on the screen so anyone at home can see the times. As you can see, this is in the start order position, so that's bow number order, and then finish position. You have to look in the second column to work out where they finished. The big jumper that you haven't got there is number 7, crew 7, which is Goldie, who've come from off this page to finish in position number 7. Otherwise, if you use your eyes, you can pretty much see the top 12, 13 crews there, 14 off the page.
Yes, Leander Club A ahead of Brookes A, ahead of Thames A, ahead of Leander Club B. We'll head back up to the start. The next of our crews coming down, that is bow number 150, which is Shoreham Rowing Club, Shoreham's top boat. But now we're back with Hatfield. They've made good progress down the course, and we can see there, we saw at the beginning that nearly clashing with Lee Rowing Club's B crew. Well, Lee have just stretched out to a couple of lengths advantage over Hatfield, but Hatfield, Rory, at this point looking very good, still looking very composed at this stage, and we're back riding with their Cox Henry Hayes.
Yeah, so I actually do a bit of coaching for aspiring rowers, and I like to talk about, the head race is sort of like potentially the pinnacle of that head season. And so you might be going into this with a 12-week training block where you're looking to really push on with your physicality, get fit, get strong. And that's effectively building the engine. What can you actually put out on the day? But then how well they go on the day comes down to a lot of factors. How well have they sort of recovered the night before, slept, their nutrition, what's their race plan looking like, how are they going to attack the race? So it's multifaceted. You do the work in the weeks preceding it, but how you actually attack that race on the day determines whether you can actually get all of that physiology out on the water.
And Rory, you are a very good follow on Instagram. I've got to say, I enjoy your content. And you call it a roke out.
Yeah, so
talk to us a bit about that.
Yeah, I've just released a fitness channel on YouTube called Brokeouts, and effectively, it's basically just row workouts at home where you can hop on your own machine, follow along with me in real time, and get you stuck on the rowing machine, get fit. And I'm building some content around that online as well, hopefully some educational content from various aspects in rowing. as well as sort of general health and fitness goals. But yeah, if you're interested, check it out on YouTube and give it a like, give it a follow. And if you've got any recommendations or suggestions for future workouts, I'll happily record them and upload those as well.
No, it's really good to see that you're encouraging people to use that rowing machine and use rowing for the fitness benefits. And of course, that might be at home on a row count, but you're missing out on being with the crew. But if you do it at home, then you can get in with the crew and bring it to the water as well.
Well, so very well rounded, and I've been very successful as well. So it definitely is a home for everyone on those workouts. But yeah, rowing's just such a really cool sport to be involved with, and if you can get yourself out, certainly you're racing at the stuff like this, then I highly recommend it. Very sociable. But just make sure you do go into those races with a clear race plan, otherwise you'll be regretting the choices coming from the middle.
Well, here we do. We've got eyes on bow number 127. This is Neptune Rowing Club from Ireland. This is their B crew, who are absolutely motoring at the moment. They have come through Collingwood College's B crew as well. It looks like they're taking them on the outside of the bend as well, which is particularly impressive. Great to welcome over at Neptune from Ireland. A really strong contingent. We mentioned likes of Commercial. We've got Cork coming over as well. But Neptune, again, their B crew there. Collingwood College, another one of the crews that have come down from Durham University. A really strong contingent of them who are racing at this year's event.
Yeah, it's a really smooth line, isn't it? They're taking the Neptune Rowing Club here, and you can notice the tide has gone out now. So when you see this more distant shot, the water being lower within the riverbanks, because we raced on the top of the tide, so the water was moving a little bit slower right now than it was at the beginning. That sometimes might give you an advantage being later because you get a bit more shelter, but today you wouldn't really want any shelter, so it'll be a surprise to see a crew come really jumping up the ranks who started late on in the field. So we're taking ourselves back up to the start. So now we're up at the start again, Fergus.
We are. We're back up with Butler College. We saw them in the warm-up areas, in the marshalling zones before they started the event. This is bow number 173, and we will be riding down the course with their cox, Sophie Pleason.
So whilst we're getting into the sort of the latter stage of the day, all of these crews are at the start line, having their leggings on and making sure they're sort of staying hydrated. They've got fuel, so it's really important that they were keeping themselves warm for that later start. So it'll be interesting to sort of see how that pans out. But yeah, we're just looking at this crew here.
Yeah, fascinating setup on Butler College, that they had all of their riggers in tandems. Something I've got to say I've never seen before. I know we're going to get to see them again, but we've noticed it, and we'll pick it up and talk a little bit more about it later when we see them again.
Yeah, well, I mean, look, I'm not from a maths background, or physics background, but to me that logically makes sense if you go stroke side, bow side, just as it would be in our cox forward. We'll see how it holds up for them. Maybe it's a secret rig setup that the rest of the world is currently missing out on.
Yet to be discovered, I think. We're looking here. This is Hatfield College A, going under Hammersmith Bridge. So again, just good, steady progress now for these crews. 105 Curlew Rowing Club. Down there by the Trafalgar Tavern pub.
Is that one you know well?
I got married there, actually.
Very nice.
Yeah, within the pub. Yeah. Beautiful views across the River Thames down at Greenwich. Curlew just down outside there.
Is that somewhere you would then typically go after racing, or?
No, my wife was just from the slightly sort of southeast London, and they were licensed to do weddings. That suited what we wanted, and was a very good venue overlooking the river. We got to do it all in one place on one day back in 1997.
Fantastic. Well, we're back with our drone footage. That is bow number 149, which is the crew from Dart Totnes Amateur Rowing Club. And Dart Totnes, they're certainly one that we are keeping our eyes on, because last year they won the medium club and they had a phenomenal outing, going from 202nd to 77th in the rankings last year. So that was a mega jump for Dart Totnes Amateur Rowing Club. So we'll keep an eye on them. However, we do have a couple more of our provisional, again stressing provisional results, as we've got bow 110 and 111 coming down, which is
It's Leeds Rowing Club with Putney Town and 111 just making the overtake there, Putney Town.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Greg, for that one. Winners of the junior pennant, the Open Junior pennant, is Westminster School provisionally, who have taken that win. We saw them coming down. They're looking particularly good for School's Head coming up in a couple of days' time. A couple of other provisional results for you. The winner of the Masters D pennant is that crew from Upper Thames Rowing Club who started by number 50. Our wonderful...
Our all-star crew.
Our all-star crew. The Harlem Globetrotters of the rowing world. We've also got our provisional winners of the Club Junior pennant, and that is one of our international crews. That is Sport Nautique de Bergerac. And we've got our provisional winners of the Masters B pennant is also from Upper Thames Rowing Club as well.
So a good day for Upper Thames by the sound of it.
So far, we'll see what some of the other crews can do as they come down the course at the moment. Speaking of those crews, we are with bow number 142, which is the crew from Peterborough City Rowing Club, who are currently approaching our position, going past our position at Oriel Kensington, hurtling towards Hammersmith Bridge.
Peterborough City on the river there, but also with the 1,000 metre course that can be used for good regatta racing, side-by-side racing in Peterborough there, as well as having the river they can go out on, so good options for them.
We're back down now at Putney Embankment. This is our camera that is stationed right in front of us, and it will be picking up the crews as they come down towards Putney Embankment. The final few hundred metres of the race, and we're back with our crew from Oriel Kensington, bow number 116. They've had a big roar as they approach their boathouse in and around Hammersmith, but here they are into the final stages of this race. And again, very pained faces, but putting a big sprint together for the final stages of the race.
Yes, and if they're coming past their boathouse, I'm sure there'll be some big cheers coming from them as well, which will give them a nice little adrenaline boost. So yeah, 100%, they're absolutely laying it down now and getting everything out that they possibly can.
Yeah, 34 strokes a minute. Doesn't look so comfortable now. They're in those closing stages, just coming around water, looking a little bit bumpy through Putney, and they're doing their best to get that over the finish line.
Yeah, and the racing, it doesn't matter so much. You don't necessarily need to bring it up at the end. Crews might have different gearings, and it also essentially comes down to how long and hard are you pulling. Obviously, if you can pull really hard and row really long and increase that rate, you're going to go faster. But just by rating higher doesn't necessarily mean you're going to go faster. It might mean that the strokes are shorter and less power is being put through.
It sounds very Caversham to me.
Exactly.
Were you not watching the Olympics?
I kept getting questions being like, how are you guys winning when the Romanians are up at like rate 50? And it's like, well, it's different gearing and it's a different race plan. They're effectively using their sort of lungs and their aerobic capacity a bit more and trying to be zippy and just move. We're just trying to row really strong, really long and really hard.
We're now with St Andrew Boat Club, bow number 125. They've come down all the way from Edinburgh, one of our Scottish crews who are racing this weekend. St Andrew Boat Club A, they've got a large contingent racing the Vet's Head tomorrow as well. And based on the same stretch of canal that I used to train on in Edinburgh, arguably I'd say probably the worst stretch of water in the country, which will freeze over between February or November and February each year. But of course, it's the same stretch of canal. It's not a river, it is a canal that the likes of Catherine Granger learned to row on. Chris Hoy used to row on as well before he made the switch over.
Oh, that's good to know.
So there's something in the water up there in Edinburgh.
Well, we've got an interesting looking situation here with all these crews piling up, including our boat with the 4 tandems in it on the bottom left of the screen.
It's going to. I'll be surprised if we can get through this situation without some degree of crossover with the blades here. So, like I said, making sure you're holding onto your handle as hard as you can. But yeah, everything's really tightening up in this frame that we're seeing right now. And as you can see right now, actually, the blades are crossing over. There has been a collision.
Oh, they've stopped.
Yeah.
It's perhaps maybe at this stage in the race that their rig that they've set up with might have been slightly better if they just had maybe.
We could end up with a bit of a pile up here if we can't.
It's Butler College, isn't it, that we are following. Sophie Plisson in the coxswain seat there. And there's another crew piling in as well.
So as a racer here, for any of those crews that are coming up onto this situation, you're probably better off taking a slower line to avoid all this conflict. You do not want to be caught up or getting caught up with your blades in this sort of mess here. You ideally want to just sort of skirt around it if you can. So the coxswains are going to have to be really sharp on this situation and try and avoid each other as best as possible, not focus on the line necessarily.
Yeah, a lot of college crews at this point in the race. We've mentioned Butler College 173. It looks to be one of the Oxford colleges as well. 175 is Wilson College. Lady Margaret Boat Club is 176, and we've also got Jesus College from Cambridge in at 177, and Southampton, their B crew, is 178. So plenty of action here. I mean, 4 boats wide here as we're coming past Chiswick. This is some epic racing, isn't it?
It is epic racing. They're used to bumps, I suppose, so they kind of don't mind a bit of contact and being up close. They took your advice, Rory, I think, and have just steered a slightly more sensible line. That particularly as the tide is dropping a little bit now, I think to take a slightly tighter line, stick towards the inside and row the shortest distance and stay out of trouble would be a wise move.
It is tricky, isn't it? Because you do want to be in a stream, you do want to have the fastest line, but we don't necessarily know exactly what the fastest line is. But you definitely don't want to be sort of crashing into each other. You run the risk of actually snapping your blade, and then that's race done. So yeah, it's definitely in the moment live. You've got to make a decision right then and there.
We'll pick that up in a couple of minutes' time, hopefully, as they come towards Hammersmith Bridge. We'll see how that unfolds. But this is 136. This is the B crew from City of Oxford.
Yeah, going along 32 strokes a minute. I'm looking pretty solid there.
They're ticking along very nicely as they come into the last couple of hundred metres of their race. We go from Oxford to Bath. This is 164. Bath University Boat Club's B crew. Again, this is them approaching our position at Oriel Kensington, just coming into the shadows now of Hammersmith Bridge. So we're just under half of our crews have gone through Hammersmith Bridge. We've of course got 344 crews racing at the head of the river this year. So just about half of our crews so far have made it to the Hammersmith Bridge, just over halfway down the course. You can see there on screen. They're still starting, they're still being sent under Chiswick Bridge, and plenty of crews still to take part in their race of this year's Head of the River.
Yeah, and University of Bath there going along 31 strokes a minute, as we say, coming around Hammersmith. See the bridge there. They're going for that good tight line, which I think makes sense now. As we say, the stream is not going to be pumping quite so strongly. We move back up, and the crews will continue coming. So we're coming through the start line up now to crew number 207, which is the Army Rowing Club.
Rowing Club. They will be racing for the fastest of our service boats, and Army Rowing Club last year they won this pennant, beating out the likes of the RAF and whatnot. So they'll be looking to defend that as they come into this year. 165 though on screen at the moment. 165 is the A crew from Grey College Boat Club. A lot of these colleges that we've mentioned, we've of course mentioned Hatfield College A, who was one of our Cox cams, coxed by Henry Hayes. But it's worth noting as well, actually, from that Hatfield crew, we might pick them up later on down the course, but Helen, who is watching the live stream, Helen Kelly, her son Ryan is sat in Bow Street. She's sad not to be at the river watching, but hello to Helen Kelly and everyone from Hatfield, bow number 129. Wonderful to have you, and we hope you're enjoying our pictures from Head of the River down in Putney.
So now we're picking up with Downing College. We've got that Cox cam with long written on the rigger there that we picked up before the start of the race, and you can see looking to hold maximum length here as they're coming out and getting well into the race here. Rory, what can you see going on here?
It's looking fairly sort of controlled, actually. I'm looking at sort of the facial expressions there. I think they're sort of staying in the centre of the boat, which is nice. But yeah, it looks like they're in control, and it looks like he is actually living and breathing his saying there of rowing long. So as long as they can keep that going, stay in control, you can always then give more towards the end of the latter stages of the race.
So apologies, we've just got a couple of technical issues at the moment. We'll bring you our pictures back on screen as soon as we can. We know that we're down in the Tyler, there's a lot of things going on, but as soon as we've got our pictures back, we will be bringing you that.
Is it worth saying that someone has interacted with us on Instagram? Just talk about how you talk to us. Rory, if we want to talk to you, how would we do that? Remind us of your Instagram.
Reach out to me on the gram, so Rory Gibbs, Ollie, yeah, drop me a message and I will try and get back to you. I'll be looking at this over the sort of next hour, and yeah, we'll answer those questions on the live feed now. So that is Rory Gibbs, OLY.
Olympian.
Yeah.
That's the one. So we're having another look. We hope you can get the pictures that we can now. We've had a few technical problems. We think we're back with Butler College with the 4 tandems, which, as we say, we can't really think of a reason why you'd put 4 tandems in. If you've got a good reason, then have a chat with Rory Gibbs on his Instagram. You might pick up a roke out while you're there. You might see him shopping, wearing an Olympic gold medal because it's iconic. You may see all sorts of other good content.
Shamelessly got the medal out a number of times.
So we fear there might be a bit of delay on the feed and our voices. So we hope that what we're seeing matches up with what you're hearing.
So we're back. Our TV in our studio is back up and running. We're back with bow number 181, and this is the crew from Selwyn College Boat Club, their A crew. Wonderful to have so many of the colleges here racing, from the likes of Durham University, Oxford University, Cambridge University, and what's worth noting, we've just had some of the bumps racing. It's the big rowing festival in Oxford. It's their torpedoes that they've just had, and everyone's been racing for the headships at torpedoes. So perhaps we'll see some of those top performing crews coming over and racing here on the Tideway at the head of the river race.
Yes, a very interesting and different race, isn't it? If you've trained in Oxford or you've trained in Cambridge for that short sprint, where if you get it right, the race can be very short if you make a good start and cause a bump. Here it's a guaranteed 4 1/4 miles, as we're taking a look here at crew 183. That's the crew from South College in Durham, being caught by 185. Sorry, the other way around. They're overtaking Hertford College. You waved at me, yes. That's all right.
Hertford closing in on South College, Durham.
And now they've got that overlap, but it's not a bumps race, so they have to keep going. In a bumps race, they would be acknowledging that, and both the crews would be stopping and going to one side.
2.5k to go at this point.
So I've got a DM coming through here from Alistair Booth. Shout out to Tom Booth in the Hatfield B boat 191. Family's watching in York, so big up Hatfield B. Let's see what we can do.
Wow, well there must be something. We're back with our drone footage. There must be something in the water in and around Chiswick, because we saw 4/8 wide previously. Now we're back to another 4/8 wide at this point in the race.
Take a look at that crew on the right. They really need to take the corner. It's not smart to come towards Bowside right now. Just can't quite get my eyes in onto the numbers to see who we've got. It's crew 199 at the back here.
That is one of our international crews. That is Academie Rude Berendon.
And so what I would add to in this situation is, generally, certainly in laned racing, it's really important that you're keeping your head in the boat, almost like a horse with your blinkers on. But when you do find yourself in a situation like this where it's possible you could be clashing with another crew, whilst you want to keep your head in the boat, it is important to know your surroundings, where you are, and if it's likely that you are going to clash, so you can be fully prepared for that situation. So yes, keep your head in the boat, but if you're clashing and you're tight, it's okay for you to have a little look about to see where you are in that race.
Well, that crew that is just in the bottom right hand side of your screen, it's in the red kit. That was Collingwood College. They're at C crew at this event. Great to have such depth from one of the Durham colleges.
Taking a look now, Warwick University Boat Club B. They are passing our position, passing London Rowing Club down here at Putney Hard. See going past that tree in the final 10 strokes or so. The umpires are keeping themselves well fed.
Got to keep well fed out there on the water. 166 though, that is St Andrews University.
Yeah, talk to us a bit more about the water you trained on and what it's like up there.
Well, not to be confused with St Andrew.
Oh, thank you.
St Andrew Boat Club without the S, from Edinburgh. St Andrews University up in up in Fife. But they themselves have got an interesting patch of water. It's Loch HORR that they train on. It's about sort of 40-45 minutes from the university. And they're under new leadership as well. Lewis McHugh has just taken over at St Andrews University, who himself so successful in the under-23s and previously coaching at Edinburgh University as well. But he's now taken over the job from Alan Sinclair, who was at St Andrews University. I'm very excited to see what they can do. And they're also doing quite a lot of coastal and beach sprint stuff because they've got a couple of wonderful beaches. And of course, the scene from Chariots of Fire was filmed on the West Sands at St Andrews for you.
Oh, that's good to know. And interesting that they're embracing beach sprints.
Well, when the sun's out and it's coming down at St Andrews, it is a beautiful part of the world. It's just a shame it doesn't come out particularly often, and the water's quite cold, I'd imagine, on the east coast of Scotland.
So we're seeing a nice little race here going on towards Hammersmith Bridge, St Cuthbert's Society Boat Club, and I think that's Christ College Boat Club beside them. And then we've got another one, you know, you can see that Empacher bow just pushing into the picture as well, those dark blue blades.
It's really interesting for me to watch this actually, because I've been quite fortunate whilst I've raced in the last sort of several years. I've been near the front. It's been quite spaced out. It's definitely a different sort of element to it towards the latter stages of the race, and how crews are of different speeds and a lot of overtaking. There's a lot of strategy that needs to be put in place. How do you attack those takeovers? How much sort of distance you give yourself at the start? Obviously, you're limited with how much time you can give with the umpires, but there's a lot of variables and things that are happening in the race that you might not have anticipated, but you definitely can, I guess, prepare for, you know, with all these sort of different scenarios that might unfold.
Yeah, because I imagine when you were starting off and you were starting further down in your early years at Brookes, there's maybe a little bit of overtaking, but by the time that you're starting off first, second, third regularly in the order, you won't really see another crew out there, will you?
No, exactly. So you're very much in your boat and buying into your race plan. And whilst it's important that every crew is buying into their race plan, naturally there is a lot more overtaking and a lot of situations unfolding around you. And so you have to be very adaptable in that moment. So you might have to change what you'd envisioned with your line. It might actually be that you need to put in a burst for 20-30 seconds in order to get yourself out of that situation or through a crew. So you have to be much more flexible just watching this footage here in the later stages of the race with what's unfolding around you.
Well, this is that international crew again. Wonderful to have so many of our crews coming from overseas. This is Académie Rode Verbindung racing in the University Pennant. And actually just behind them is École Centrale University Rowing Club.
They could even have a bit of a ding-dong with them.
They could.
Coming up towards Hammersmith Bridge. They're coming underneath there. And hopefully they'll know their distance on the course. And that's probably now coming to that final third. So in that quiet patch of the river.
Can I just say at this point, maybe I'm biased because I'm sat here watching it on the TV, part of the broadcast team and everything. This drone footage is spectacular, and we saw a very good shot of Quinton Boat Club, their A crew, just a few moments ago, getting right up close and personal with them. But this footage right round from Chiswick is spectacular. And Rory, I think you were talking about strategies and everything, particularly at this point when we can expect a little bit of racing. But it's really interesting, isn't it? Just tracking the coxes and seeing which lines and where they're perhaps looking for a bit of a bend advantage at some points in the river, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. And from being in the boat, sometimes you, as an athlete, you can see the crews behind you and the coxes taking different lines, and you as an athlete, you don't really know, and you might be like, oh God, they're catching us, we're taking a bad line or whatnot. And so it's really important that you just buy into your cox. He's done the research, he knows what he's doing, and even if you do make a mistake, you know, it's happened, and you just got to adapt to that. So as an athlete, you just got to buy into it, put as hard as you can, stay in the rhythm, and not get flustered by the line that you are taking, because that's how it's unfolding. You can engage with your cox, the strokeman can, but ultimately you just got to stay in your boat and just keep going.
Yeah, well, we're seeing Henley Rowing Club there, and that drone shot did just show, as we're saying, just how much the river does weave its way around through West London here, and what a good job the coxes need to do to try to stay well positioned and in the fastest line, but also the fastest water, and getting the direction right and playing that trade-off. As we're seeing another good ding-dong here with, by the look of it, crews 208 and 209. We've got City of Cambridge and Bedford Rowing Club.
Rowing on the ooze, right in the centre of Bedford, and there's a couple of those clubs represented. Star Club, of course, the home of Tim Foster in years gone by, Star Club. The Bedford Rowing Club, just a few hundred metres further down from them on the ooze. They're going toe-to-toe, as Greg said, the City of Cambridge. This is their C crew, and certainly City of Cambridge, Cambridge 99, a couple of those clubs that we'd be expecting to be challenging for the likes of the Jackson Trophy in particular for out with the Thames. And certainly ones who are rising up through the rankings over recent years.
So we were seeing one of the umpires there, and as I said, as an umpire, before the race it's all about marshalling, getting crews in order. Now when we see these races coming along and you do get 4 abreast, it's quite a difficult thing to try to manage, because you have a section, and as that crew comes through your section, to try to ensure that there's not any interference being caused or actual clashing happening, because of course we can only take time off, add time on to people who cause a problem. You can't take time off to make up for what happened. So really the crews need to beware.
So 3 boats in shot at the moment, and I believe the one in the middle was crew number 204. That was Sons of the Thames Rowing Club. But now we're back up at Oriel Kensington, coming up to Hammersmith Bridge. That first crew that will be heading through Hammersmith Bridge from this batch will be Agecroft Rowing Club. Just ahead of the crew.
And I guess sort of just going back to Greg's point there about sort of the penalties and penalisation and getting time added on to the overall outcome. For me, that used to frustrate me quite a lot, in the sense that, you know, you've put all this hard work in, your coaches have as well, your teammates, and you're there, you're ready to race. You should know what is allowed and what's not allowed, and maybe there's some situations where it can be quite hard to avoid that penalty, but ultimately silly penalties that are going to cost you 5-10 seconds, you know, there's almost no excuse for it. You know, you're kind of letting yourself down, your crew down, your club down, and they should really be avoided at all costs. So there should be, you know, that thorough research beforehand going into it, and avoiding that.
And this race, the Head of the River, is one that should be fairly simple, fairly easy to steer. I'm thinking of the Head of the Charles, which I don't know if you've done it, but there seems to be more buoys on the water there than I've ever seen, and I always seem to be on the wrong side of them.
I've never actually raced there. I wish I had, but yeah, never say never. Maybe I'll have an opportunity in the future. But
so crew 266 that we've just seen, that was Cardiff University Rowing Club. That was their C crew. And now we've got a much wider flotilla of crews coming back down towards Hammersmith Bridge.
This looks like a Westminster School crew that we've got in front of us here. And is that Imperial College on the inside? I'm just looking to see with my eye now rather than the numbers. 221, is it?
221 is, of course, I believe that's good. 221 is Westminster School, and then 220 is another one of our overseas crews. This is Ruder Club Sorpesi from Germany.
Well, and we've been joined by some guests. That if one of us is prepared to make a little move, then Drew Ginn has come in to join us, as has Martin Haycock. So, Drew, let's say hello to you. Hey, nice to see you, mate. Can we jump you into headphones?
should grab mine.
Do you mind that, Rory? So Drew Ginn, who was in that crew for Upper Thames, the absolute all-stars that we just got to enjoy rowing over the course. So welcome to the commentary box. This is Fergus. If you want, if we need to jump in, we will, and talk about the action that's going on here. But yeah, Drew, give us a bit of a picture. How was it out there for you?
It's a long way, Greg.
Yes.
Long way at 50. It's spectacular, I reckon, just to see all the crews out on the water, and particularly to come out in the boat with the athletes. We've sort of come together, and Alex Parcher's done a huge job getting us all on the water and getting us over here. But it was just a heap of fun, hard work. Like, haven't done that sort of racing for a long time.
Yeah, Alex said he's got a real appreciation for anyone who's involved in team management now for rallying you guys around. But yeah, talk a little bit about the project and kind of how it came about for you, and almost kind of what it's meant for you, really, to come here and do it.
Yeah, look, it's been huge. I've never raced on the Thames, and Duncan's the same. And so Alex reached out to me, I think it was back in October, And I think he sort of pitched the idea that he thought he had a few names that he could do, and James and himself, Tobias Kuhn, Richard Smith, and we sort of started getting together. And the idea was get 2 Australians, 2 of the Germans, 2 of the GB rowers over the time, and bring it together. And then Alex has got some of his friends, Steve and John, who are the Irish rowers. So I'm sure there's a joke in there somewhere about.
Yeah, there is. Yeah. I'm sure you'll be telling it later. But Fergus, we've also got Martin Haycock with us, who cocks the boat.
We do, yes. And Martin, you've got this international lineup of stars out in front of you. How was it steering the boat and kind of bring this crew together and get them gelling together ahead of this year's Head of the River?
Well, it's fair to say there's a huge amount of experience in that boat, but you've got guys who've all rowed in their own way. They've all won Olympic gold medals in their own way, and therefore it's a bit of a challenge. I've been pairing up with Phelan Hill, who's an amazing cox who's been helping bring the crew together. I've just done a couple of outings. Getting the guys down the course today was an entertaining process. Of course, it's super bouncy, it's super busy up at the start. It's a new experience for the athletes, so I was explaining on the way up to the start what we're going to be doing, where we're going to be on the course at which point in time. And then during the race, we had the fun, the unexpected thing, which was that a very, very fast Dr. Brooks crew was placed just behind us, which was something we weren't expecting, which gave the guys something to fight against halfway down the course.
And just talk me through sort of your strategy of executing your race plan. Who did you have sort of contributing and leading it, and what were your key markers out there on the course today?
Well, so Drew was actually in a 7th seat and was delivering a lot of really useful technical calls, one of the greatest technicians that we've ever known in the sport. James Crackman, sitting in front of me, was actually remarkably quiet. He was putting the work down, he was doing his bit, and Drew was just whispering in his ear a few little points of encouragement along the way. But, it was a really solid 33 all the way down the course. Just nothing special, just break it up into sections, start to Barnes Bridge, then a second section down to Chiswick to Hammersmith Bridge, get ourselves past Harrods, 2k to go, get yourself to the football club, last kilometre, Black Boy, 500, let rip.
And Drew, what did you actually think of the water? Because it's kind of quite interesting. We sit here and watch it on TV. What was it actually like, and what's it like for the crews out there now?
Surprisingly, there was a couple of sections where obviously you hit a bit of head breeze.
You
had a little bit of turbulence through some of the bridges and stuff, but it wasn't that bad. It was actually pretty good. And I think going up, obviously, with all the crews doing some warm-up pieces early and stuff like that, there was a fair bit of bounce. But once you got onto the course, and actually the last bit actually felt pretty good. So
that's good to know.
In the water, and actually, surprisingly, I've never raced the course, but just the sense of speed when you've got the current going with you is extraordinary. So, but it also brings that sense of load as well. So it's, and I don't know what time we've come down the course, but we sort of tried to break it into 3 parts, 3 6-minute efforts, and we're all getting older, Greg.
I know. Well, you did very well. I think. I don't know if Alex Partridge was right in this. Alex says from his peak, he's lost 34 kgs. From his peak weight to where he is now, but he reckoned on average you'd all lost 10 kgs to come and do this race.
Well, interestingly, the guys were quizzing me, and we were going through the numbers, and there was a lot of high 90s, and tonnage in the boat, and they've said to me, "Drew, how much are you weighing?" I said, 86, and they've gone, "What?"
Yeah.
I'm weighing about the same amount as I was in 96.
You look lean. Yeah, Drew and I raced at the Olympic Games in '96. Drew ended up getting gold. We got bronze out there in Atlanta. What about now? What brings you to England now, and what's coming up next for you?
Yes, I get a chance next week to hang out with the Oxford Boat Club crews. The coaches there, Mark Fangenhall, was pretty instrumental in getting me over in October and coming back this time. So not long before the boat race, and trials next weekend as well. So just a chance to see how the athletes are going, give them a bit of confidence, particularly in terms of the preparation they've done. I know for all the crews they've done a heap of work, and it's now the chance to sort of capitalise on that.
That's good.
Now, we're also sat here, we've got the provisional results. I'm not sure if you've seen the provisional
results. Haven't seen any results. Do you want to see any results?
You do.
You actually.
You do.
Our system currently shows you as the provisional, again, stressing provisional winners of the Masters D pennant at the Head of the River this year. And if this is your first time hearing it, what are your thoughts on provisionally winning the pennant?
Well, the real race is actually tomorrow, when all the Masters crews from all around the world come and congregate. This is a warm-up. It's a fantastic result to have won the Masters D pennant, but it all starts all over again tomorrow.
You're doing it all over again tomorrow?
Yeah, the guys do it all over again tomorrow. Phelan Hill's coxing, so they've got to step up in the coxing, and then we'll see who wins Masters D tomorrow.
It's wonderful having you guys with us. We will pick up with you again, but I'm just noticing here we've got Berliner Ruder Club from Germany. They look like they've made a strong move there coming towards the finish line. But we've got these times that provisionally are showing the winners as Leander Club just ahead there of Oxford Brookes, and Thames sneaking up into third place there.
Leander Club, Oxford Brookes, Thames Rowing Club are top three ahead of the B crew from Leander Club in fourth. The B crew from Oxford Brookes through in fifth place, with London Rowing Club, a really strong result from them, finishing in sixth place. London did a 17:38, Thames did 17:25, so 13 seconds separating those two Putney and Bankland based clubs at the moment, and we'll see how that margin shrinks as we get closer and closer to summer racing season and building towards Henley Royal Regatta, of course, as well.
And while we've got Martin Haycock with us, Martin, what would you think about coxing in these boats here? What is going on right now? And you said you had that Brookes crew behind you. Talk to us just a little bit about your coxing today and maybe what's going on here.
Yeah, one of the first things I was thinking today was to try and figure out how fast the stream was flowing compared to normal. You've got to think about that we've got a net headwind across the course, so there's going to be patches of time when you're going to be facing a headwind, and it's about managing the crew through the various sections and making sure they know exactly where they are on the course and what they've got to do. The water is also really, really bouncy. That's always the challenge. No crew ever has a comfortable row here on the Tideway course. We can see on the screen right now 3 crews potentially coming together. All the coxes, in fairness, seem to be behaving themselves there. The faster cox has priority, and hopefully the crews being overtaken will just nudge in advance, slowly out the way, and create room.
But these are the kind of situations we're getting now. We've had 4 abreast coming around Chiswick and stuff. It's kind of been pretty exciting to watch it. Drew, while you're still here, having raced it today, what would you say would be your kind of key advice, lessons you need to give yourself tomorrow to go and race again, which I'm actually saying for the world of rowing? What would be your key advice from racing this?
Because we had James Cracknell at the end saying,
yeah,
tomorrow let's take a real risk. You know, so
okay.
You know, as older athletes in particular, become a bit conservative. We wanted to get the rhythm right today for ourselves and establish that, but knowing that we've got 2 hit-outs means that we can sort of come and use that platform that we've established today.
Yeah.
And get the rate up a bit more lively, and just know that when you do hit challenging conditions, the ability to actually have the boat cut through and keep on top of the water, I think, is really critical. And if you have a stroke which is off, recover quickly. I think the one that happened today was we'd sort of missed 2 or 3 strokes afterwards rather than getting straight back on it.
Yeah, right. And so you're saying about actually going out and being even braver.
Yep.
So there's that first bit, it's quite a tight bend. It comes around to Barnes Railway Bridge. It's a big steel, it's quite a tight bridge. So what you're saying is maybe even...
The course is quick, right? So,
yeah.
So I think as much as you think that it's 6.8 Ks, it's over and a fair bit quicker than what you imagine. So I think that first 6 minutes, you can get the rhythm wrong. Like any rowing race, you get the rhythm wrong by rowing too hard. But I think getting the boat up to speed and actually getting it at a speed where it's actually up and alive is really critical. Doesn't matter if it's 2K racing or long distance head racing like this. I think you want to give yourself an advantage that way.
Yeah, and I was going to say for most of these rowers, then trust in your training. Correct. But of course, that's not necessarily the case for you guys.
Well, mate, Duncan Free was sitting in the boat and he hadn't been in an 8 since head of the Charles 8 years ago, sort of thing. So it's been a little while since he's actually raced an 8.
Yeah, no, good on him.
Yeah. Well, Martin, you've said you're going out for another hit again tomorrow. Do we get to see this crew in action again later on in the year?
I think that may be a little bit ambitious given the challenges of getting all the crew together and organising all the flights, but all I can say is it's been an amazing experience. It's been wonderful to meet all these guys. They've travelled a long, long way to do it, and everyone has made every effort to make the very most of this extraordinary experience.
Well, gentlemen, thank you very much for joining us here on the live stream. Congratulations provisionally, I'll say provisionally, on your pennant win. And we'll let you go away, start recovering, start getting ready for another hit out tomorrow. But wonderful to have you joining us here on the live stream.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, thanks guys, really good to chat to you.
We are hurtling through our crews who are racing at the moment, and this is crew 315. This is the B crew from London Otters Rowing Club. Wonderful to have London Otters racing here today.
And we're seeing the busyness of the River Thames now as these later crews are going. We've got crew 271 there. That's UCL, University College London crew. Looks like they've been overtaken by that University of York crew. They're not letting them go easily. University of York on the left of the shot there. Coming around, that's the ramp at St Paul's School. Looking around the outside of this bend, coming up and then lining up Hammersmith Bridge.
See they're sort of getting fed a little bit of dirty water there from the puddles. So ideally you want to be steering out of that whilst trying to sort of optimise your line as well. But puddles can definitely make it a little bit more washy, harder for you to get a nice clean entry at the catch and then drive through. So yeah, lots of things to take into consideration.
Yeah, and it was good insight we got, wasn't it, hearing from Drew Ginn and Martin Haycock, who've been out on the water. And you know, we say oh, the water looks pretty nice today, but as they're saying, it is a little bit jumpy. It's a busy tideway, and now of course they're contending with the crews who are all rowing back, coming back to their clubs.
Yeah, exactly. So the conditions definitely would change quite a lot through the day for those first initial crews. If it is flat on the water, they're getting that nice water, and then as more and more boats and rowers are sort of chopping it up and the crews coming back, it definitely adds another dynamic to it. But it'll be interesting to see how Drew gets on tomorrow. He sort of mentioned that he was going to go off a bit harder, and it's a quick race. I'll tell you, you can blow in these races, but
particularly doing it for a second day in a row.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But they have had a run out, and if they feel like there's a little bit more to give at the start, then you know, they can use that and give it a shot. Yeah. But yes, you definitely want to stay on the right side of it.
So we've just had the drone footage of the E crew from the University of Exeter. I think one of their beginner crews taking part. So crew 247 is from Walton Rowing Club. This is their B crew, and this is them coming into the final stages of this race. They're coming down Putney Embankment.
I know Walton Rowing Club, where your good friend Morgan Boulding spent a lot of time rowing. Is that right?
He did, yeah. I think that's where he loved to row. So there's been a number of big rowers coming out of Walton. So Walton have produced some legends of the sport.
Yeah, absolutely, and good to see these future legends racing on the course here. You can see still rowing pretty well in this closing stage of the race there.
Absolutely, you'd imagine. I wonder how many potential future Olympians will be in these crews racing right now.
Well, it's funny you said, because you were at Brookes, that you only ever started near the top. I remember when we were at school, we used to enter, you know, the second eight, third eight would come and race this, and we would be starting in these low numbers. Where I think there's certainly a bit to learn from getting out and needing to handle these tough conditions. Good for the coxes, good for the rowers to be in the tough conditions early in your career.
Well, this is 277. This is St George's Hospital Medical School Boat Club, and they're just coming underneath Hammersmith Bridge at the moment. We can see there some of the crews are just starting to make their way back to their clubs after finishing their race. But we talked about some of the sights we had along Chiswick. Well, we've got it again just now. This is phenomenal. This is 5 eights within just a couple of lengths of each other, all within a few hundred metres now of the finish line. This is phenomenal racing.
Yeah, it looks like Kingston Rowing Club here on the front left of our screen, but yeah, charging down towards the finish line, and it's actually a great bit to be side by side because they can fit all those crews in. Fergus, you can see who else is in there, I'm sure.
I can. In the red boat, we've got Cardiff University. That's their A crew. And then just in there as well, it is Oxford Amateur Rowing Club. I think that is 248 there, slap bang in the middle of the two crews.
Yeah, it's very interesting that this is right at the end here, because when you watch rowing on the outside, it kind of looks quite relaxed and not too strenuous sometimes. But on the inside, they'll all be screaming their heads off, if that makes sense. And they're giving it as much as they can, and they're trying to navigate that situation. There's so many things going on.
Crew just at steady 30 strokes a minute there on the right of our screen. In this period, we've got the drone pictures here, and I think that's Staines Boat Club. Oh no, it's Maidenhead, isn't it? Coming into the bottom of the picture, Maidenhead there.
Yeah, that is Maidenhead's A Crew 309, St Andrews University. They're the ones just slightly further back in your picture. I believe also in the mix, I think it is Newark Rowing Club's C Crew, if that is 307, just over to the right hand side.
Sort of touching on that race, I know we spoke about it a little bit earlier, but from my experience racing Eight's Head, I've raced it at around 30, 32 before, and I've raced it at around 35, 36 before. And you know, it kind of ends up in the same situation anyway. You kind of get the same kind of speed. So no matter which way you sort of skin it, you can still put down the sort of same power and achieve the same result.
Well, we're getting dangerously close between Maidenhead and Newark. I mean, you can just about put a cigarette paper between the two crews, and it just looks like a little steer of the rudder perhaps from Newark Rowing Club in towards Maidenhead. It's starting to get a bit of the clashing. I mean, there's nervous looks there, particularly from Newark's 6th seat and a couple of the crew, a couple of the athletes in the middle of the boat from Maidenhead.
They've just gotten away with it, haven't they?
They have, and it's Maidenhead who are just starting to pull away. But even as we say that, we can see the bows rory of Maidenhead are just pointed in towards the line of Newark, but it looks like they're just starting to step on, just kick away as they need to stay clear of Newark.
Yeah, so like I said, in this situation, there's so many more things unfolding that I might not have experienced in my time. And so for the crew that's pulling away here, it is really important actually that they are putting a bit of a push in to get themselves out of this situation. Ideally you're going to be sort of pacing at level throughout the whole race, but as you can see here, they have made a push, they've got away, they've got themselves apart from that sort of confrontation, and now they can focus on a clean bit of water in front of them.
Yeah, they'll be pleased to be getting away, because you can see it's really quite tight there where the crews are returning, so they certainly don't want to be any tighter on the corner than that. What a lovely sweatshirt.
It's a lovely sweatshirt, and it's a lovely sweatshirt that we are all wearing courtesy of the wonderful people at Rock the Boat. They have got a huge amount of official merchandise that you are able to purchase from this year's event. As you can see there, mugs, jumpers, hats, tote bags, gilets, the full shebang, a full variety, and they do a huge amount of work to support events up and down the country, a huge amount of the Tideway events as well, and we're very grateful for all of the help and support that Rock the Boat are providing to this year's Head of the River race.
So yeah, I'm actually going skiing tomorrow, and it's the first time I'm going skiing in about 15 years. And I'm thinking I'm going to take this jumper with me, as well as the
snood as well.
Exactly, the snood. So I'm going to be rocking the Rock the Boat 8 head gear up the mountains. But yeah, I'm looking forward to that.
So this is crew number 344. This is our final crew to start their race here at the Head of the River, and this is the C Crew from Derby Rowing Club. They are officially on course, and they are the final ones to go underneath Chiswick Bridge.
So Rory, you're off on a ski trip with some of the Paris Olympians as well, am I right in thinking that?
Yeah, so I'm heading off with Morgan and a number of old university mates from Brookes, who also raced to a high standard. Some of them have won the Eight's Head themselves.
So will this be a first ski trip for you in a while?
It's my first ski trip since taking my first road stroke. So, you know, with the sport, you've got to be careful. So I've not skied in about 15 years. So yeah, looking forward to it.
Good commitment from you.
Well, speaking of people who have just are taking their first strokes, that crew, 344 Derby, are all part of the British Rowing Learn to Row programmes last year, and for all of them, it's their first time on the Tideway, and they've really enjoyed getting stuck into Derby Rowing Club, and they've made huge advancements in such a short period of time, and very much looking forward to their first regatta season after Head of the River. So to everyone, we're thrilled you enjoyed your Learn to Row courses, and we can't wait to see how you get on in the regatta season as well.
And what a brilliant event where we've got to see the Leander crew going off number one, with Olympians, athletes training at Caversham through to the City of Derby going off at the back of the field. And we're just seeing a few problems there for some of these crews, because we're seeing people who are taking their first strokes on the Tideway. Seeing the umpires, as I said, they'll all have been marshalling the crews. Now the final crew from Derby started 3:44. Those crews, those tin fish, will all start hopefully following the crews, pootling their way along the Tideway.
I tell you what, it's a bit of a baptism of fire to be taking some of your first strokes.
Yes. In the Head of the River, in this, yeah.
On the Tideway.
Yeah.
But you know, if you can get through that, then you're going to be all right on a lake and on a mill pond.
Yeah, definitely. Just really good for boat skills all around in your career to be rowing like this and enjoying this experience. It's one they'll remember for the rest of their lives.
Yeah, certainly. And here we are, back again There's something about this stretch of the tideway at the moment. We've got another two boats wide. We've got 4 boats in contention in and around here. It's
I guess it's that the crews have closed up, haven't they? They come through Barnes Bridge, and you don't often necessarily get catching up by Barnes Bridge, but then you get the straight along Chiswick, and then just a little corner on the end of it is enough to cause a little bit of disruption here.
Yeah, certainly, and we're keeping our eyes on the crew in the yellow kit, yellow blades, who are really making a move. And we're seeing just further up, the crew starting to move out of the way. It's the done thing. The faster crew gets the better line, in theory, I suppose. But they look to be hurtling their way through these two crews as they come up towards the end of Chiswick.
Yeah, so when you find yourself in these situations here, the cocks and their ability to steer the boat probably isn't actually enough, and the athletes themselves will be having to apply different pressures in order to steer the boat and get around the situation. So it just emphasises the importance that you are staying in control throughout the race and that you're buying into your coxswain, because if he needs you to sharply turn to the left or to the right, every athlete is going to have to respond to that and either pull harder to get it round or lighten off. So it's really important that the athletes are ears pricked up, listening into the coxswain and buying into exactly what he says. Otherwise, you could find yourself 1 or 2 seconds later, clash blades overlapping, and in a situation you definitely do not want to be in.
So we talked about them on the course a little bit earlier. This is the St George's Hospital Medical School Boat Club. That's 277, but they have been caught up by the crew from Bath University, 281. That's their D crew coming through. And this is now crew 311, Bristol Aerial Rowing Club. They're a boat at this event, who are just coming underneath Hammersmith Bridge, or into the shadows of Hammersmith Bridge at this point in the race.
Yeah, they're making good progress down there. There's 28 strokes a minute. Plenty of time and rhythm there for them. Oh, we've got a problem here. This is down in Putney we've moved to now. We'll try and tell you which crew this is, but someone's got a serious boat stopping crab there in crew 278. Really trying to stay out of the way.
Yes, that's crew 278. That is Southampton University. That's their D crew. It's a disaster for their 2-man.
There we go.
He's got his blade back.
Let's get going. Let's get going.
Get them back up and running. We've still got a few hundred metres left.
Yeah, it's so disappointing. You can see what it means to the rest of the rowers, though, as well.
I'm actually a professional at getting my blade out from catching a crab.
Is that a situation you found yourself in?
I used to find myself in that situation more than I'd care to admit. And so actually, even at the Olympic Games, I was like, if I catch a crab, don't worry, I know how to get that blade out quick.
You'd never have heard the end of that if you caught a crab at the
No, I would not have.
Is it something that entered your mind?
It isn't actually.
That's good.
Morgan Boulding, he used to run Walton. He used to, stay up at night worrying that he would catch a crab and cost the crewmates.
Yeah.
He never caught crabs though. I used to catch them on the red when I was young. But it didn't cross my mind once, and I'm very grateful for that. Otherwise, it would have been a tough night's sleep.
For all these athletes, it's about trying to control your mind, and as you say, put the right thoughts in your mind and keep out the thoughts that are going to be unhelpful, like that you might be about to catch a crab.
Yeah.
So on screen, it's 320. This is Signet Rowing Club. They're A crew. And again, they're through halfway, coming up to Hammersmith Bridge. So not far to go. We've got about 24 crews or so, 24, 25 crews to make their way to that Hammersmith Bridge position. And they have absolutely rocketed down this course.
And here we go again, coming up to this position that you spoke about, where they've come towards, I'd call it Chiswick Steps, and this RNLI station, who very kindly allow the umpires to use their facilities for the pre-race briefing for all these big races on the tideway. And the lifeboat goes out from here. Second busiest lifeboat in the country.
Is it really?
Yeah, it is the inshore lifeboat here because of, I guess, incidents of people falling in the river.
Because of the rowers, yeah.
Hopefully not rowers. But yeah, it's a very busy lifeboat station, but yeah, they give the facilities over for all the umpires' briefings. That's their main station. But as we've noticed, it's been a little tight spot for crews steering around here.
So 342, that is the E crew from City of Cambridge Rowing Club. And looking just to keep making their moves up on that crew on the inside of them at the moment. we know not too far away from them as well. 340 in the mix is Putney Town Rowing Club, who themselves, very novice crew, who haven't been together a particularly long period of time, and a number of injuries have made selection difficult for Putney Town. And Peter, I've been told, is the new stroke, having replaced Kengo. But they're also hoping that Juan, Matt, Alex and Stephen will add the power to aid a respectable finish. However, Alex played a rugby match for Richmond last night, so I imagine he's probably feeling it.
He's going to be feeling it in his whole body, I would imagine.
So yeah. 3:30, that is Southampton Coal Porters Amateur Rowing Club.
Oh, Cara McMurtry's club, where she learned to row before coming into the GB team. Down there on the south coast.
Coal Porters 330, they themselves coming up to Hammersmith Bridge now. Thundering along quite nicely, Rory, aren't they?
Yeah, it's looking good. I was going to say, they're looking controlled, they're sitting up tall, the captures are fairly sharp. Looking at this crew here, it looks like
it's 344, it's our back markers Derby Rowing Club.
Yeah, it looks like here, what have we got here? Is it our 4-man there? He's actually got himself back into the rhythm, but we've had a bit of an incident beforehand there. He's potentially struggling. But coming through this sort of marker where we're getting into the thick of the race in the middle, that is the hardest part of the race, where you've had the adrenaline from the start, you're still quite far away from that sprint finish, and now you've really just got to stay sort of locked in, give it everything you can, and it's a proper mental battle at this point as well as a physical battle.
Yeah, it absolutely is. And we're seeing a little burst coming in from them as they come up to Chiswick, and as you said, all of this crew learnt to row during the British Rowing Learn to Row programme. Perhaps they saw you, Rory, on TV at the Paris Olympic Games, taking part in the Learn to Row programme, and as we said, on the tide race, their first time, a phenomenal addition to Derby Rowing Club. But don't worry guys, it does get shorter. You've got the summer racing season still to come, and your racing will be shorter, 1500 metres, 1000 metres, rather than 6.8k through London. But looking very good at this stage, aren't they, Rory?
Yeah, they are looking good, and to be honest, the head racing season was never my strong suit. I really struggled with those longer races. I loved racing over at 2k, but it's a really good opportunity for you to learn, build on your weaknesses, and build that aerobic base. We are an endurance sport, we're an endurance power-based sport. It's very well-rounded, and so the head season, whilst this is a really incredible race to win, it's a really good opportunity to help set yourself up for that 2k regatta season coming up shortly.
Yeah, that's right, and we're getting really lovely scenes there from that drone of the River Thames and how the tide has gone out. So you're now seeing large swathes of the river bank showing, as we see good supporters, and they're seeing that river bank back here in Putney. It's really lively down there now in front of the club. Got some Kingston Rowing Club there, athletes coming in. Got another one here. I'm assuming Crew 79, they're returning. They won't be racing right now. This crew is still racing.
This crew is still racing. This is 336. It's Vesta's E crew. This will be the beginners from Vesta Rowing Club. Actually, Vesta Rowing Club, one of the clubs who do particularly well across the beginners. Last year they won the beginner club pennant. That was Vesta H last year. So they had a couple more crews racing last year. And last year they went from 314 to 282nd. Which is a very good finishing position for the beginners. So this is Vesta 338, their H crew.
Certainly very well turned out. They will have been trumpeted off from the landing stage, as we saw a good cheer and a crowd outside Vesta this morning when we were coming in. And then it was quite funny because there was all the crews going afloat, and then there was a real quiet period for about half an hour as we were just getting ready for our commentary, and now the buzz is back in Putney as most of the crews have finished.
So this is 311 coming down Putney. This is Bristol Aerial Rowing Club into their closing stages of their race. Really strong contingent coming over from Bristol. We've seen the likes of Bristol University, City of Bristol, who we know challenge for the likes of the Jackson Trophy. But this Bristol Aerial, great to have such a West Country representation here in London.
Yeah, Bristol looks like it's
doing pretty well now as a city with rowing. The universities stepping up, the clubs there are doing well. Good scene in Bristol at the moment.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, quite often you'll associate London, the Tideway, with a lot of where the strong rowing clubs are naturally as people move from universities. But you look at Bristol, you look at Manchester, you look at Cambridge, and you look at Newcastle. At the moment, performing particularly well with our club racing, which is wonderful to see.
It's Putney Town now that we see coming down in front of us. Let's try and stretch for maximum length, as much as they can.
Yes, it's Alex in the 5 seat, Alex Beresford. He's the one who played rugby in Richmond last night. So hopefully didn't pick up any injuries or any knocks last night.
Yeah, supposedly they all played for Richmond the night before. Fair play, I couldn't imagine.
You've got the whole crew playing. We've got some notes that some people have given us about themselves.
Oh, no, sorry, I misread that. No, it's just Alex. He played a game of rugby for Richmond the night before. So yeah, I couldn't imagine doing that myself, but fair play to him.
Yeah, I'm not quite sure which one I'd rather do. If I'd rather do the Head of the River course twice, like the Upper Thames crew are doing, or play a game of rugby last night and then have to race it again today. Fair play to him. Alex Beresford, a man of many talents, it would seem.
Might depend on what position he was playing though. If
he was on the wing
with his hands in his pockets, or was he getting stuck in the rucks in the scrum?
Speaking of men of many skills, I think that was Kieran Hayes we just saw there in his umpire launch. He's been on the committee organising all of us and organising this event today. As we catch up again with the Derby Rowing Club crew, I feel like we should really have a shout out to the organising committee of the Head of the River, as well as all of the volunteers, marshalling, umpiring, supporting, who allow this event to take place.
Yes, back with Derby Rowing Club. Not long left for them. We saw on screen previously, we saw the A crew from Globe Rowing Club and the A crew from Norwich Rowing Club as well, coming into the final stages down Putney.
Derby Rowing Club there, passing underneath Hammersmith Bridge.
So always, I don't know, like for you, I found passing underneath the bridge, you had a lot of spectators there, there'd be a sudden burst of energy, excitement, because you had your friends and your family supporting you. But you had to sort of control that, because there is still a fair bit of the race left to go.
Yeah,
you don't want to sort of
a 10-stroke.
You don't want to sort of draw your sword too early and go gung-ho and then think, oh God, 500 metres, what have I done? So you need to control that emotion, but it definitely does help.
So we've just mentioned the Norwich Rowing Club on screen at the moment, 325. Coming through Putney, and just behind them was Globe Rowing Club. And we've got a couple more in quick succession, the first of which is Maidstone Invicta. This is their B crew.
Yeah, training in Maidstone there. Quite a tight, windy piece of the river. A sculling race there. You needed to be a good steerer to do well, put it that way.
Were you a good steerer?
Yes, I always prided myself in my steering. And any way that could make the race more efficient was important, and steering was a big part of efficiency, I always thought.
So we're just zooming in there, that is crew 141. And that is Swansea University Rowing Club, that's their A crew.
And you can see just how much the tide has gone out, because of course that Chiswick was fully just an island a few hours ago when we started this commentary.
We go from Chiswick back down to Putney. 331 is Exeter Rowing Club Limited A. So we've talked about the number of crews that we've got coming over from Bristol. Again, it's a very strong contingent from Exeter. Talked a little bit about their university crews as well. So many of them coming over and racing, an Exeter Rowing Club as well. Wonderful to have them all racing here at Head of the River 2025. So that is 331, which means we've got about 15 crews or so to go to complete this year's race. We've talked a little bit about some of our provisional winners, you know, the likes of Leander Club right at the very top. We've looked at some of the pennant winners as well. And as the results are coming in a little bit more, just as we see 326 come into shot, Runcorn Rowing Club's B crew. But we can just bring you a couple more of those provisional results of the pennants. We've mentioned Upper Thames' success with the Masters B pennant, Masters D pennant. We previously mentioned one of the overseas crews as winners of the Club Junior pennant. That has since changed and been updated to Hinksey Sculling School. We can see that Neptune Rowing Club from Ireland are the provisional winners of the Medium Club pennant. The University of East Anglia are our provisional winners of the Medium Academic pennant, whilst University College Durham are the provisional winners of the Small Academic pennant. And that
good updates, thanks Fergus. We're seeing Newark Rowing Club in front of us. Good to get those updates on those provisional results. Newark here coming down through Putney Hard.
Yes, all provisional till the last cruise over the finish line, and they've been checked and checked again by our wonderful team of officials. And I think what's so wonderful about the Tideway is that all of the clubs up and down from Putney right the way up to Chiswick and beyond up to University of London as well, they all open up their doors as well and will welcome the crews. So for some of them, if they're down at Putney, it means they can finish the race. That's 329 just coming to shot. That is Express Boat Club just coming through. But the clubs will open up their doors. They'll welcome all of the rowers from around the country to use their facilities and boat. And of course, if you're in Putney, you get a quick spin round Putney Bridge and then in. But obviously, if you're boating out at Tideway Scullers, perhaps Putney Town, University of London, well, it's a long old row back up to the start line and beyond in some cases to get off the water. But in some cases, Rory, I suppose it would be quite good. Just get a little row afterwards, just to flush some of the lactic acid and racing out of the legs.
Yeah, no, thank you. So we would boat at Barn Elms with Otter Brookes, and so we would do our warm-up to the start line effectively, and then to be honest, after the race I was done. I wanted to get off that water, so we wouldn't have too long, maybe about a K or a bit less than that, and then we could cool down if you like on a bike or on land. But obviously everyone can't have that luxury, and it's no bad thing, certainly for these crews on the latter stages. It's a bit more time on the water, a bit more time to practice, have a few more strokes, enjoy it, soak up the atmosphere and the environment. But here we go. We got ourselves.
Vesta there has caught a big crab in front of their own club.
So that's a crab that it looks from this angle that it was a clash or locking over with the crew next to you. Yeah. Just showing how important it is to really hold tight to that handle and trying to avoid contact as best you can.
Well, he's maybe taking some of your advice about how to fix this up. He was back up and running nicely, but he just missed a few strokes. Yeah. Vesta Rowing Club, that was Vesta Rowing Club H, one of their beginner crews, back up and running again, coming over the finish line. But a very well recovered crab from them. That was their novice second eight, who have been described as a lovely group of rowers who are banded together to make up the Vesta's second eight. They've only been rowing for 5 months, of course, since the beginning of the year, and have taken to the sport and the training programme with verve and dedication. It also includes a new father this week, so congratulations, Bennett. And also they've got a novice cox who learned to steer the Tideway as well. So first of all, congratulations to their cox who make it down the course, but congratulations, Bennett Judge, on your newborn this week. Very happy news.
Yeah, and congratulations for filling in such good information and letting us give you a nice insight. All other crews could do the same if they want to for future races, including Henley Royal Regatta, where we love to get as much information as we can in on the crews, and then we can colour the pictures as much as possible, like we've been able to do with this crew from Derby Rowing Club, who have all taken up rowing and are now racing on the Tideway for the first time ever.
We absolutely are, and we've seen them at all the stages of the race. We saw them coming out the blocks at Chiswick Bridge, and we saw them navigate Barnes Bridge and Chiswick 8 and whatnot. We picked them up again at Hammersmith, but here they are into the final stages, the final crew for Head of the River 2025, and they have made it down the course magnificently. And Rory, I think as we've talked about, hopefully this is a really good catalyst for them to kick on
and enjoy the summer racing that's coming up.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, the head race season is one. You want to pick up as much hardware as you can, especially as said. But it is a really good opportunity for you to knuckle down in those sort of winter months, get fit, get strong, and build that aerobic base for you to capitalise in the summer at Henley Royal Regatta and Marlow and Met and all those various regattas that you might be competing in.
Yeah, and all over the country those regattas will be starting to get organised up and down the land with organising committees like we've had here for the head of the river race, and we'll be showing off their clubs and organising the events with a great deal of enthusiasm, I'm sure, that goes behind the scenes to make these events happen.
And it's a real crescendo to the winter season that we've got at the moment. We're obviously watching the Head of the River live stream. 2 weeks ago we had the Women's 8s Head of the River, where we had the same number of crews, all women's crews coming down and racing. We've talked about the Schools Head of the River that is coming up on Tuesday, so in just a few days' time some of these crews back out racing again. But tomorrow we've also got the Veterans Head of the River, so we've got Masters rowers from across Europe and across the world, across the UK, coming to this stretch of the river. So it's a busy stretch at the moment, a lot of racing going on, and a real climax to the winter season, as we said, as people start to get ready for summer racing and things still to come. And of course, in a few weeks' time as well, we've got the boat race, which will be happening on this course as well, except in the opposite direction. It'll be starting at Putney and racing all the way up to Chiswick in 3 weeks' time. Crew announcement for that in a few days' time next week. So plenty to look forward to, plenty of racing still to come here on the Tideway.
And let's hope the weather can hold and we get these kind of conditions for those exciting races coming up. Schools Head as well next week on Tuesday, and then the Scullery out at Dorney on Wednesday. So yeah, very busy time as the head season comes to a culmination, and then before we have that boat race, as you say, lots of excitement, lots of talk about the Oxford and Cambridge boat race right now. That coming up on the 13th of April, and then we'll switch to side-by-side racing for everyone else.
So just as Derby crossed the finish line, our final crew over the line at Head of the River 2025, let's just refresh some of the results from our opening sort of 12-14 crews. And as we said, provisionally it is Leander Club taking the headship for a second year in a row. Not quite able to get the record that they did last year, conditions not quite as quick as 12 months ago. Leander Club taking the win ahead of Oxford Brookes, a 12, nearly 13-second win for them, but with Thames Rowing Club stepping up into third place. A fantastic finish for Thames Rowing Club, and they are the best of the Tideway based programmes. They've got one up on their rivals from London Rowing Club, but also sitting in there in fifth place will be the second of the crews from Oxford Brookes University. So that's your top five. It is Leander, Brookes, it's Thames, it's Leander and Oxford Brookes. So some similar names there, but very good performances across the board from all of our crews racing. Also a very good opportunity to shout out our wonderful sponsors and partners of this event, Rock the Boat Clothing, who do so much up and down the riverbanks across the UK for plenty of races. And you'll be able to purchase all of your official merchandise from the Rock the Boat website, including t-shirts, snooze, wonderful jumpers that we've been wearing today, tote bags, mugs, the lot, and they will be out in force again supporting many events that are still to come on the Tideway, and as we said, up and down the country throughout the spring and summer racing. So Rory, as our final crew has come over the finish line, what have you made of Head of the River 2025?
I think we've been very lucky with the conditions, so that's looked great. It's been really fun for me, really insightful, looking at the different dynamics of the crews in the later stages of the races and how you have to be really switched on and adapt to the situation that unfolds. You know, there's a lot of overtaking. Like Greg was saying, the tide was sort of starting to go out, and so it became much more narrow. But yeah, I thought it was some really, really good racing. A number of crews having different race plans, so racing slightly higher, some racing lower. You know, there's a number of clashes, a couple of crabs, people getting them out. No, I thought it was a really, really good event. Really enjoyed watching it, and I think everyone has earned the right for a nice chilled out afternoon, spending on whatever they want to do, get some Netflix on or go have some beers, and the same for us.
Absolutely. Well, we know a number of these crews will be out racing again tomorrow at the Vets Head. But Greg, I mean, some of the results we've talked about, it just makes it all the more exciting for the summer racing that we can look forward to over the coming weeks and months, doesn't it?
Yeah, it certainly does. I think Leander will be very pleased to have retained that headship. Oxford Brookes still in there, and I think a nice step on for Thames to have got up to that position of being in third place. Right through to the other end and seeing Derby Rowing Club was just fantastic to see what an incredible event this is. 344 eights racing here on the Tideway. It's been wonderful to watch. Thank you for having us.
It has. It's been a wonderful day of racing. Prize giving for all of the athletes who have won the pennants will come later on today, 3 o'clock from London Rowing Club. But that is all from us here at London Rowing Club and from the 2025 Head of the River race. However, next year is the big one. Next year is the 100th anniversary since the Head of the River first began back in 1926. So we look forward to welcoming all of our crews back for what will be an incredible celebration of racing here on the Tideway. But from myself, Fergus Mayland, Rory Gibbs and Greg Searle, thank you very much everyone for tuning in. We hope you've enjoyed our coverage. We'll see you all next year.